Chapter 3672. After everyone entered the Heaven Bell Divine Treasure, the Feather Emperor landed beside Little Rabbit and asked, "How much do you think they will gain this time? Can they pass the first level?" "The first level? With their temperament, there should be no problem. As for the gains, we can't force them. It all depends on their luck. However, every supreme treasure they gain will be a source of confidence for us to confront the Divine Kingdom," Little Rabbit whispered. The Feather Emperor nodded and looked at the Dragon King trio. He smiled and said, "I haven't had the chance to have a good gathering with you guys since I came back. Why don't you stay on Sky Cloud Island and have a few drinks with me? The war is imminent. Do you think we still have the mood?" Dragon King snorted. "That's why we should take the opportunity to relax." The Feather Emperor smiled. "Not interested." Dragon King replied coldly and was about to leave. But at this moment, two figures appeared in the sky. It was an old man and a young man. Both of them were emitting killing intent like gods of death. As they appeared, the sky instantly turned into a sea of blood. This aura, Dragon King trio immediately looked up at the two, their eyes full of surprise. But the old man and the young man didn't stop and directly entered the passage of the Heaven Bell. "Is it him?" Dragon King looked at Little Rabbit and the Feather Emperor and asked. "Who?" Little Rabbit and the Feather Emperor were suspicious. "Don't ask when you already know the answer. One of you is hiding in hell, and the other is guarding the entrance to the lower realm. I don't believe you don't know him," Dragon King said angrily. "I really don't know." Little Rabbit shook her head. "Humph. Seems like you guys have been playing a big game of chess all these years." The Dragon King snorted, turned around, and disappeared into the horizon without looking back. Feng Ho and the Qilin Master also took a deep look at Little Rabbit and the Feather Emperor before leaving without saying a word. After Little Rabbit saw Dragon King trio disappear, she looked back at the Feather Emperor and said, "Have you been in contact with him long ago?" "No. But I always knew," the Feather Emperor said. "Interesting. Looks like it won't be long before those who should return will return one by one. And this time, there's the monstrous Qin Fei Yang. I'm afraid the arrival of the Divine Kingdom won't be a disaster for the Sky Cloud Realm, but the end of the Divine Kingdom." A cold light flashed in the Little Rabbit's eyes. "Not necessarily. After all, it was true that many experts died back then. Only a few were able to return." Feather Emperor sighed. "Don't worry. Someone will replace the fallen ones." The Little Rabbit shook her head and smiled. "Ah." Feather Emperor looked at Little Rabbit in shock. "Because this time, we have people who have activated the 10 strongest fighting souls. None of them are ordinary people. In addition to Uncle Rabbit's meticulous nurturing, sooner or later, they will be able to stand above the rules of the world." The Little Rabbit smiled domineeringly. "That's true." Feather Emperor smiled. "But at present, they still need time to grow. Why don't you stay on Skycloud Island for the next 1,000 years and help Uncle Rabbit? Uncle Rabbit is really a little tired teaching them alone." Little Rabbit sighed. This, Feather Emperor was a little hesitant. "What is this?" "These people are Qin Fei Yang's friends and subordinates. Qin Fei Yang is your descendant. You are duty-bound," Little Rabbit said angrily. "All right." Feather Emperor smiled helplessly and nodded. Sky Bell Divine Treasure. For experts like Little Rabbit and Feather Emperor, it was a mysterious place that they yearned for. Qin Fei Yang and the others were naturally filled with anticipation. In the dark tunnel, there was a dead silence. Qin Fei Yang was like a lonely soul floating in the tunnel. The white-eyed wolf, Frenzy, Yun Xiang, and the others around him had all disappeared. At this moment, he felt as if he had climbed the thunder punishment heavenly stairs and entered his inner world. Loneliness. Dead silence. Confusion. Nervousness. Not knowing how long had passed, the sky and earth spun. Suddenly, a dazzling light burst out in front of him, causing him to involuntarily close his eyes. Not long after he closed his eyes, he felt that he had landed on a solid ground. Immediately, he became vigilant. Because without thinking, he knew that he had arrived at the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. He slowly opened his eyes. The dazzling light had disappeared and was replaced by a gentle flame. As he opened his eyes, a huge object appeared in front of him. At this moment, he stood in front of an ancient square. The square was still surrounded by darkness, but at the edge of the square, there were more than a dozen large furnaces burning with raging flames. It was these large furnaces that emitted a gentle flame that illuminated the square. This place. It was still dead silent. Apart from Qin Feiyang, there was no one else. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the square and looked at the center of the square, not daring to step into the square. Because in the center of the square, there was a black stone door. The stone door was tightly shut and it was 100 feet tall. This was the huge object that Qin Feiyang saw. The door was engraved with complicated patterns, mountains, rivers, and all kinds of creatures, as if it was depicting a real world. Although the stone door looked simple and unadorned as a whole, without any dangerous aura, it should be known that in this place, even a blade of grass or a tree could be fatal, not to mention such a strange stone door. After a long time, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and finally stepped into the square. Because there was nothing around, only this square could be stepped into. At the moment when he entered the square, the stone door strangely disappeared in front of Qin Feiyang. What's going on? Qin Feiyang rubbed his eyes and looked again. It had really disappeared, and the whole square became even emptier. Brother Feiyang. Suddenly, there was a series of footsteps behind him, followed by a surprised voice. Qin Feiyang was stunned and hurriedly turned around, only to see 3 men and 3 women standing in front of the square. Feiyang. Qin Dage. Young master. The other 5 people also spoke. That's right. These 6 people were Lin Yi, Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and Yun Zhongtian. Qin Feiyang was a little confused. What's going on? Why are they also in the Tianzhong Divine Treasure? When I came in before, I didn't tell them. Especially Lin Yi. This girl, isn't she in the ancient realm? Lin Yi, wearing a white dress, walked into the square, looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously, and asked, Brother Feiyang, what's wrong with you? Nope. Why are you here too? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. After you entered the Divine Treasure, we discussed and planned to come in and take a look. Mermaid Princess was wearing a pale golden dress. Her long golden hair was wavy, and her figure was exquisite like a fairy. Isn't this nonsense? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Mermaid Princess shrank her neck, stepped forward, and hugged Qin Feiyang's arm. She said discontentedly, then why are you allowed to come? I'm concerned about you. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Fire Lotus said, Qin Dage, we have been cultivating in the sky cloud realm for so many years. Our current strength is quite strong, so don't think that we will drag you down. That's not what I mean. Qin Feiyang was helpless. He looked at Pei Tianhong and the other 2 and said angrily, they are not sensible, and you are also fooling around. If I wanted you to come in, I would have called you in the sky cloud realm. Isn't it because we were worried that you wouldn't let us in, so we sneaked in from behind? But our luck is really good. The random teleportation can actually teleport us together. Pei Tianhong smiled embarrassedly. Yes. This is a random teleportation. How come we are all teleported here? Qin Feiyang muttered in his heart. This luck is too good. Lin Yi looked at the center of the square and said suspiciously, Brother Feiyang, why did the stone door disappear as soon as we entered the square? Qin Feiyang's thoughts were interrupted immediately. He said in surprise, "You also saw the stone door?" And the six nodded. "So now, it has disappeared in front of your eyes?" Qin Feiyang asked again. "Yes." The six nodded again. "Strange. Apart from the stone door, there is only this square. Now even the stone door has disappeared, leaving only this square. What is going on?" Qin Feiyang glanced around the square. "Will the exit be somewhere in the dark area?" Suddenly, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Lin Yi and asked, "When did you enter the sky cloud realm?" "It has been a long time. I was really bored in the ancient world, and I missed you very much, so I talked to Master." He did not object. Lin Yi smiled. After so many years, she was much livelier than before. "How is the ancient world now?" Qin Feiyang asked. "It has already stabilized. Before leaving, I also went to Divine Land to visit old Master Yi Zhong and the others. They are all good. And they asked me to tell you not to worry about them. Explore the sky cloud realm well." Lin Yi smiled. "What about the fire python guarding miracle?" Qin Feiyang asked again. "Of course, it is good. After all, the third floor of miracle is now under its control. However, it still has a knot in its heart." Lin Yi sighed. "Is it the fire dragon?" Qin Feiyang asked. And Lin Yi nodded. "The fire dragon has died in our hands." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Really? When it hears this news in the future, it will be very happy." Lin Yi said. The mermaid princess asked, "Feiyang, when do you plan to go back?" "Go back to Great Qin?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Yes." The mermaid princess nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and shook his head. "I want to go back now, but Little Rabbit said that after entering the sky cloud realm, you can't go to the lower realm anymore." "What? Can't go back?" Lin Yi was surprised. "It said so. The space-time channel leading to hell has this restriction." Qin Feiyang nodded. "How did the people of the Blood Hall go to the lower realm?" Lin Yi was suspicious. "I don't know. Little Rabbit must know, but it didn't say. I suspect that it should be related to Ice Dragon at that time. After all, Blood Hall was ordered by Ice Dragon at that time. In fact, you don't have to worry about this matter. Little Rabbit must know the way to go back. When we drive away the Divine Kingdom, we will ask it again. Now, let's see what the situation is here." Qin Feiyang glanced at the square and frowned. He thought that the Sky Bell Divine Treasure was a big world or a perilous purgatory, but he didn't expect it to be such a square, and it was surprisingly calm. Chapter 3673. The few of them wandered around the square. Then, he knocked on the ground to see if there were any hidden passages or secret rooms. But, searching the entire square, they didn't find anything suspicious. "Let me try." Pei Tianhong also began to lose his patience and punched the ground with all his strength. With a loud bang, the square shook violently. But it soon calmed down. Qin Feiyang and others gathered around and looked at the ground. They were all stunned. One must know. Pei Tianhong had long been a perfect dominator. He had also comprehended the supreme meaning of the time law. In addition, he had been cultivating in seclusion on Sky Cloud Island all these years. His strength had improved a lot. But even so, there was no crack on the ground at this moment. So hard. Wang Changyuan and Yun Zhongtian looked at each other and attacked at the same time. The Thunder Law and Destruction Law were activated. The power of thunder and destruction contained the power to destroy the world. Boom! The two jumped up, then swooped down and slammed their palms on the ground. Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, and Lin Yi quickly retreated to the edge of the square. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the law of karma surged out, forming a thick shield of light in front of him to block the incoming shockwaves. Boom! As Wang Changyuan and Yun Zhongtian's palms fell, the square shook again. The two stared at the ground, their eyes full of expectation. But in less than 3 breaths, the trembling square calmed down. Looking at the ground again, it was still intact. The two looked stunned. How could this be? Even if it had been tempered by divine power or the power of law, it was impossible to be this hard. After all, their laws of lightning and laws of destruction had already reached the level of supreme profundities. Grim Reaper's sword, you go and try. Qin Feiyang glanced at the square, his eyes shining. Clang! The sword of the Grim Reaper immediately swept out, its sharpness toppling mountains and overturning seas as it slashed towards the ground. Wang Changyuan and Yun Zhongtian quickly pulled it aside. However, the Grim Reaper's sword controlled its momentum quite well and didn't affect Qin Feiyang and others. Gotcha! As the sword of the Grim Reaper fell, the square was split into 2 with a loud bang. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and smiled. Sovereign-level divine weapons were indeed different. Next, the Death God's sword began to dig 3 feet into the ground. However, after searching the entire underground area of the plaza, he didn't find any secret rooms or secret passages. Qin Feiyang scanned the dark area outside the square again. Could it be that the exit was hidden in this dark zone? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang immediately looked at the mermaid princess and the others and said, "You guys stay here and don't run around. I'll search the surrounding dark areas. Be careful." The mermaid princess reminded. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He turned to the sword of the Grim Reaper and ordered, "Stay here and take care of them." After saying that, Qin Feiyang turned around and plunged into the darkness without looking back. Immediately, he was plunged into a deep darkness. What's going on? He immediately stopped and scanned the area in front of him. His eyes were dark and he couldn't see anything. Even his perception was restricted. It was as if he was in a cold and deathly silent cave. He couldn't help but feel a trace of fear in his heart. "Castle, help me," Qin Feiyang said. Before entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, he also brought the castle with him just in case. Clang! But with the appearance of the castle, there was still no light around. "Can you see it?" Qin Feiyang asked. "I can't see it. But I can tell the direction," the castle replied. Qin Feiyang's heart was filled with disbelief. Even the castle couldn't see the dark area clearly. What kind of place was this? The castle was a sovereign-level divine weapon. Even a sovereign-level divine weapon was restricted. This was the first time he had encountered such a thing. It seemed that from now on, he couldn't be careless. Because this meant that even a sovereign-level divine weapon might not be an invincible existence in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. Qin Feiyang hesitated for a moment, then said, "I can tell the direction, so I can check it out." He was afraid that he couldn't tell the direction. For example, his vision and perception were restricted now, so he couldn't even tell the direction. If he couldn't tell the direction, he would get lost in the dark area. At that time, he might be trapped in this dark area forever, unable to return to the square and meet up with everyone. Next, Qin Feiyang and the ancient castle wandered around in the dark zone like a lonely ghost. Right now, Qin Feiyang's heart really longed for someone to appear. Even the dragons, the Feng people, and the Kirin clan could do it. He even longed for a trace of light to appear in front of him, even if there was danger. However, these didn't appear. It was like a sealed space, as if he was alone. This kind of atmosphere couldn't help but make people feel lonely and desperate. 1 day. 2 days, 1 month. 2 months, Qin Feiyang didn't know how long he had been wandering for. Suddenly, a trace of light finally appeared in front of him. He was overjoyed and hurried towards the light. But when he rushed out of the dark area, he found that he had returned to the square. Feiyang. Qin Dage. Young master. Mermaid princess and a group of people immediately greeted him. Qin Feiyang saw that everyone and the sword of Thanatos were there, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Brother Qin, what's wrong? Yun Zhongtian asked. I didn't find anything. Qin Feiyang shook his head. It has been 100 years, and you didn't find anything? Fire Lotus frowned. What? 100 years? Qin Feiyang looked stunned. Fire Lotus nodded and asked, yes, don't you know? What's the situation? Qin Feiyang frowned. Although he felt that a long time had passed in the dark area, it was absolutely impossible for 100 years to pass so quickly. And he also found that the square destroyed by the sword of Thanatos had now been restored to its original state. There was no trace of damage. Brother Feiyang, what's wrong? Lin Yi looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. What a strange place. Qin Feiyang didn't answer. Instead, he glanced around the dark area with a confused face. It's really strange. I didn't return to the square at all. Instead, I kept flying towards the depths of the dark area. But unknowingly, I returned to the square. It feels like there's a maze here that's confusing us. Gu Bao said. Maze? Qin Feiyang frowned. Gu Bao asked, why don't you all stay here, and the sword of Thanatos and I will go into the dark area separately to take a look. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. They can't be trapped here forever. Whether it's a maze or not, there must be an exit. Swish. The two sovereign divine weapons disappeared into the dark area one after another. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and Yun Zhongtian with a smile. How's your harvest after being in seclusion on Sky Cloud Island for so many years? Not bad. The three nodded and smiled. Qin Feiyang said, don't say it's not bad. Tell me, how many profound mysteries did you comprehend? Can you keep us in suspense first? The three looked at each other and asked Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was stunned, speechless. Looks like you've all obtained the white-eyed wolf's true inheritance. Hey! The three bared their teeth. Fine. Since we're idle, let's calm down and comprehend the profound mysteries. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone and said. N. Everyone nodded. Wait a minute. The mermaid princess suddenly thought of something and looked at Qin Feiyang. Feiyang, can you enter the black tortoise world first? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. He hasn't tried to enter the black tortoise world yet. Immediately. With a thought, he appeared in the sky above the Devil's Land. Can I? Looking at the familiar Devil's Land, Qin Feiyang was stunned for a while before coming back to his senses. This was a little beyond his expectations. Generally speaking, a place like this would definitely have some restrictions, but now, he could actually enter the black tortoise world. In the square. The mermaid princess and the others were also overjoyed. Because there was no need to ask, they knew that they could definitely enter. After Qin Feiyang came out of the black tortoise world, he led everyone into the Devil's Land. After learning that the seal of the black tortoise world had been unlocked and the time array had transformed, the group was pleasantly surprised. Time quietly passed. 1 year. 2 years, 100 years. 200 years, on this day. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and looked up at the scene in front of him. Although he was comprehending the laws, he had been paying attention to the time. 200 years, not in the black tortoise world, but in the outside world. Outside. It had already been 200 years, but why hadn't the castle and the death god's sword returned? Could something have happened? Fei Yang. What's going on with you? Suddenly, the mermaid princess's voice came from the side. Qin Fei Yang turned his head to look at the mermaid princess and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong?" The castle was outside, so they were all cultivating at home. The mermaid princess hurriedly got up, picked up a bronze mirror from the dressing table, handed it to Qin Fei Yang, and said anxiously, "Look for yourself." Qin Fei Yang took the bronze mirror and looked at the face inside the bronze mirror. His expression suddenly froze. At this moment, many wrinkles had crept up on his face. And his face was obviously a little old. This, one must know. With his current cultivation, as long as he didn't want to, he would never grow old. But now, he had actually aged so much unknowingly. Qin Fei Yang raised his head to look at the mermaid princess. She was still as charming as ever, without any trace of age. "You did this on purpose, right?" the mermaid princess asked. "I didn't." Qin Fei Yang shook his head. "Really?" The mermaid princess was a little doubtful. "Really? Do I need to lie to you about this? Besides, if I really become an old man, how can I be worthy of you?" Qin Fei Yang smiled bitterly. "Then what's going on with you?" The mermaid princess looked at him in confusion. "I'm not sure either." Qin Fei Yang shook his head. He had inexplicably become old. In the castle, the sword of Thanatos had not returned. It was still a dark space like a maze. What was going on? Another few hundred years passed. Qin Fei Yang had been observing the changes in his body. He found that not only was his face getting older and older, but he could also clearly feel a kind of twilight aura. One must know. This twilight aura would only appear on people who were about to die. Not only him, but the mermaid princess also began to feel anxious. Chapter 3674. At first, Qin Fei Yang and the mermaid princess hid it from Lin Yi and the others so that everyone would not worry. But seeing that the situation was getting worse and worse, knowing that it could no longer be hidden, the mermaid princess called everyone over. And now, she had no idea herself, and she needed someone to help her share the burden. When everyone entered the wooden building and saw Qin Fei Yang sitting in the hall, they were stunned. How was this still the high-spirited Qin Fei Yang? He was simply an old man in his twilight years. He was in his 60s or 70s, thin as a skeleton, white hair, and turbid eyes. His aura was also extremely weak. "Brother Fei Yang, young master. Qin Dage, what's the matter with you? Sister-in-law, when did Brother Fei Yang start to change?" Several people recovered and immediately surrounded Qin Fei Yang and the mermaid princess. Their faces were full of anxiety. "A few years ago." The mermaid princess sighed. "Why didn't you tell us earlier?" The fire lotus said angrily. "We thought it was nothing serious, but we didn't expect it to get worse." The mermaid princess was worried. What is Qin Dage's cultivation base? How can he be fine after such a sudden change? Did he take the divine life pill? The fire lotus asked. "Yes, but it's useless." The mermaid princess shook her head. The fire lotus looked dazed and hurriedly said, "Then try using the law of life." The mermaid princess shivered and immediately activated the law of life. But no matter how huge the life energy was, Qin Fei Yang's old and weak body showed no signs of recovery. What the hell is going on? The group was burning with anxiety. Even the law of life was useless. What else could work? Don't worry, don't worry. There must be a way. Let's go out and see if there is anything that can save his life. Pei Tianhong ran out after speaking. Wang Changyuan and Yun Zhongtian quickly gave chase as well. Fire Lotus and Lin Yi stayed in the hall. Looking at Qin Fei Yang's appearance at this moment, their eyes couldn't help but become wet. During the whole process, Qin Fei Yang did not say a word. He was like a man waiting for death. "Qin Dage, can you say something too?" Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyang anxiously. Yes, big brother Feiyang. You're so quiet. It's a little scary. Lin Yi said. How could they know that Qin Feiyang's heart had already fallen into the abyss of despair? That's right. At this moment, he felt unprecedented despair. When he first discovered this, he was already thinking of ways to prevent himself from growing old. However, he had tried all sorts of methods, but none of them worked. Seeing his body getting weaker and weaker, seeing death getting closer and closer, this kind of torment simply made him wish he was dead. Especially when he saw everyone's concern for him, he felt even more pained. He also wanted to know why. However, he just couldn't understand. You guys go out. I want to be alone. Qin Feiyang sighed after a long time. Even his voice was hoarse and weak. The three women looked at each other, got up, and walked out of the hall. They stood in the courtyard outside, all frowning. Another day passed. Qin Feiyang already had white hair, a wrinkled face, and skinny body. He even needed a crutch to get up. And not only his physical body had aged to the extreme, but even his memory was slowly deteriorating. Even his consciousness had become muddled. Pei Tianhong and the other two also traveled all over the Black Tortoise world, thinking of various life-saving methods, but it was useless. Don't waste your energy. Even the life law is useless. What else can save my life? You guys sit down and listen to me, on this day. Qin Feiyang sat in the courtyard, keeping Pei Tianhong in the other two. Because he felt that his life had been completely exhausted, it would be too late if he didn't say anything. But, the three were anxious. They couldn't just sit here and wait for death. At first, I was indeed in despair and pain, because I still have a lot of unfulfilled wishes. I haven't left behind a child or a daughter, and I haven't enjoyed life with the woman I love. Qin Feiyang trembled as he reached out his old hand and grabbed the hand of the mermaid princess who was sitting beside him. The mermaid princess was already in tears. But slowly, I gradually thought it through. So what if I'm in despair? So what if I'm in pain? It's a fact that can't be changed. It's better to face it calmly. After all, in this life, one will die sooner or later. Moreover, don't I still have you guys to accompany me now? At least I won't be alone for the rest of my life. And I believe that you guys will definitely help me fulfill my unfulfilled wishes. The only regret is that I didn't return to Great Qin before I died to see my father, mother, great-grandfather, Lu Hong, little cousin, Fatso, Ling Yunfei, and my brothers and sisters, Qin Haotian, Qin Feiyang whispered. It took him a very long time to finish his words intermittently. Don't say any more, please, don't say any more. Have a good rest. The mermaid princess grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and looked at the old face with tears in her eyes. Her heart ached. If you don't say any more, I'm afraid I won't pay attention to you anymore. Qin Feiyang smiled hoarsely, looked at Pei Tianhong and the other two, and said, You are all free in the future, but I sincerely hope that you can put the world's people first. We will. The three nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Lin Yi and Fire Lotus again and said with a smile, You are not young anymore. You should solve your marriage as soon as possible. It's just a pity that I can't see it with my own eyes. The two women lowered their heads and sobbed silently. Tears flowed down their faces. Don't cry. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly and looked at the mermaid princess again, saying, You have worked hard in this life. If there is an afterlife, I will put everything down and accompany you well. I don't want an afterlife. I want this life. The mermaid princess shook her head. There is no hope in this life. In the future, take good care of yourself. Help me again. Tell senior brother Feng Zi, the white-eyed wolf, you must drive away the divine kingdom and protect the people of the sky cloud realm. Defeat ice dragon and small beast, take back Changshui. Finally, bring my body, back to Great Qin. Great Qin is my root, my home. I want to be buried in my homeland." Qin Feiyang smiled and slowly looked up at the sky, like a wanderer eager to go home. The scene was also frozen here. At this moment, time and the void seemed to be still. The mermaid princess's gaze trembled. She held the gradually stiff and cold hand and burst into tears. "Qin Dage. Young master. Brother Feiyang." Lin Yi and others looked at the motionless Qin Feiyang and also shouted carefully. However, looking at the sky, Qin Feiyang, who had a smile on his face, did not answer. "Qin Dage, wake up, wake up," Fire Lotus roared and threw herself on the ground. She grabbed Qin Feiyang's other hand and burst into tears. Lin Yi, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and Yun Zhongtian also silently shed tears. Heaven is jealous of geniuses, heaven is jealous of geniuses. Suddenly, Yun Zhongtian raised his head and roared, devastated. But they didn't know that an invisible shadow floated out from Qin Feiyang's body. This shadow floated above Qin Feiyang's head and gradually turned into a person. It was the old Qin Feiyang. "I'm not dead." Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. When he saw the mermaid princess and others crying bitterly, he hurriedly shouted, "What are you crying for? I'm not dead yet." However, the mermaid princess and others did not respond. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyang frowned and looked at himself. Could it be that everyone couldn't see him now? Suddenly, he saw himself sitting on the chair and looking up at the sky. His gaze suddenly trembled. He was already dead, the current him was just a wandering soul. Everyone couldn't see him at all, nor could they hear his voice. "Don't cry. All of you must live happily." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. It was also at this moment. In the void behind him, a black vortex appeared. An aura of death enveloped him, and Qin Feiyang was immediately sucked into the vortex. His eyes fell into darkness once again. "What is this? Where are you taking me?" Qin Feiyang muttered. It felt like a moment, but also like a few centuries. In front of him, a blood-red world suddenly appeared. The sky was blood-red. The mountains and rivers were also blood-red. The void was filled with a blood mist that couldn't be dispersed. And in this world, there were countless wandering souls like him. He could see everyone, and everyone could see him. However, they didn't communicate and flew in a direction ahead. Could this be hell? Chapter 3675. It's really scary. Even with Qin Feiyang's temperament, he couldn't help but feel afraid. After all, the words, "Gate of Hell," were enough to make people feel awe. Because everyone in the world had heard a lot of legends about hell, especially in the secular world. Some elders would even use these things to scare disobedient descendants. At the same time, when the other wandering souls saw this scene, their eyes were full of fear. Many wandering souls stopped outside the gate of hell and didn't dare to enter. Crack! The familiar blood-red lightning struck again, locking on those wandering souls who stayed outside and didn't enter. Some wandering souls immediately ran to the gate of hell. Some wandering souls were unwilling to go in. Boom! As the blood-red lightning struck, the wandering souls who didn't enter were turned into ashes on the spot. Qin Feiyang quivered. This blood-red lightning was too scary. When it was his turn, he was very calm. He directly jumped and entered the gate of hell. Before he died, he had already seen through life and death. Naturally, he wasn't afraid now. Besides, he wanted to see what was at the end of the gate of hell. Inside the gate of hell, there was a blood-red world, like a sea of blood. Crack! Boom! There were countless thunderbolts roaring all around. But all the wandering souls who were struck by the thunderbolts screamed as if they were being tortured. And their bodies would also be seriously injured, and their wandering souls would become weaker and weaker. however. It wasn't fatal. So far, Qin Feiyang hadn't seen a wandering soul being crushed by the thunderbolts. Qin Feiyang flashed again and again, but he was still accidentally hit by a thunderbolt. Although he was only a wandering soul, he could still feel a tearing pain. And he could feel that a lot of his memories seemed to have disappeared. Is this erasing the memories of his life? It can't be. Legend has it that one has to drink Meng Po's soup to erase the memories of his life. It seems that legends are legends after all. Qin Feiyang muttered. He didn't know how long had passed. He was struck by more than a dozen thunderbolts one after another. Most of his memories had been erased. He had forgotten many people and many things. But the end of the gate of hell hadn't appeared yet. Could it be that I have to erase all my memories of my life to see the end? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. No. Even if he had to fall into hell, he had to bring his memories with him. There were some things that he could not forget. As if sensing the determination in Qin Feiyang's heart, the surrounding lightning energy immediately began to bombard Qin Feiyang in a densely packed manner. Qin Feiyang kept dodging and fleeing frantically. However, there was simply too much lightning in the surroundings. Just as he was about to be engulfed, a stone door suddenly appeared in front of him. He raised his head and looked at the two big words. Was this the epitome of the law of life and death? Before he could even think about it carefully, the two characters actually fused together and transformed into a strand of the energy of life and death that surged towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang did not dodge. Because this force of life and death not only did not bring him any danger, but it also gave him an incomparable sense of intimacy. In the end, the force of life and death drowned Qin Feiyang, not leaving a single bit of it to merge with Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang only felt as if he was bathing in the sunshine of February, incomparably warm. In the next moment, another white vortex appeared in the sky, emitting a sacred aura. Qin Feiyang was immediately sucked into the vortex uncontrollably. This time, there were no negative emotions of despair or fear. On the contrary, it was as if he had ascended to immortality, his whole body was comfortable. Very soon, a familiar scene appeared. Devil's Land, a courtyard filled with birds and fragrant flowers, Lin Yi who fell into sorrow, Mermaid Princess, Fire Lotus, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, Yun Zhongtian, and himself who was sitting on a chair, looking up at the sky with a smile on his face. I'm back again. Qin Feiyang floated in the air, and a smile gradually appeared on his face. However, when he was about to speak, he found that everything in front of him began to fade and become blurred. How could this be? He began to feel a little anxious. Because even the Black Tortoise World, Mermaid Princess, and others were fading as if they were evaporating. My eyes, suddenly. He waved his hand, and the void turned into a mirror. Looking at himself in the mirror, he looked slightly stunned. At this time, his eyes showed a black and white brilliance, like a Tai Chi pattern. What is this? Could it be that everything I see now has something to do with these eyes? This is the eyes of life and death. As long as the force of life and death is mastered, the eyes of life and death can be born. The eyes of life and death can see through the mysteries of heaven and see through all illusions. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in the void. The shadowless? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. This is the voice of Gus Ho. Child, you've finally awakened. This is the true law of life and death. Gus Ho chuckled. The true law of life and death, Qin Feiyang muttered. That's right. Although there are many people in this world who have mastered the law of life and the law of death, they are unable to fuse these two forces. A single law of death and the law of life is only an ultimate law. But after the fusion, the law of life and death has already surpassed the limit of the ultimate law and is the strongest law in the world. Gus Ho laughed. Strongest? Strongest? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. In fact, the life and death of the six-word divine formula contains the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death. Of course. It can also be said to be a miniature version. Only when you comprehend the law of life and death will this miniature version truly fuse with you. Gus Ho said. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and looked at the black tortoise world, the mermaid princess, and the others again. Everything was about to fade away. It turns out that all of this is just an illusion. Qin Feiyang muttered. But even if it's just an illusion, he can't bear to destroy it. Because this is what he cares about in his heart. Sigh. After a long time, Qin Feiyang sighed faintly. With a wave of his hand, the world in front of him immediately collapsed. At the same time. The square. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and looked forward. The stone door in the middle of the square didn't disappear. It was still a dark area all around. However, just as Qin Feiyang broke the illusion and opened his eyes, the tightly closed stone door slowly opened with a bang. Scary, right? Gus Ho and Shinigami's sword both appeared from Qin Feiyang's body and floated beside Qin Feiyang. Scary. Qin Feiyang nodded. From the moment he stepped into the square, he had already fallen into the illusion. Moreover, every person that appeared in the illusion, every scene, was what he had always cared about in his heart. It could be said that it directly touched the heart without any flaws. It made people naturally think that all of this was real and that they were living in the illusion, unable to extricate themselves. If it wasn't for him comprehending the law of life and death at the critical moment and opening his eye of life and death to see through the illusion, he would have died in the illusion. This should be the test to enter the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. Only by passing the test could one enter the Divine Treasure. If one didn't pass, they would definitely die here. The Sky Bell Divine Treasure was indeed extraordinary. The stone door had been completely opened, revealing a dim world. The mountains and rivers were dilapidated, and the ground was barren. From afar, one could see ancient and dilapidated cities and fortresses. As far as the eye could see, there wasn't a single figure. This was a true purgatory of death. Desolate, dilapidated. The Sky Bell Divine Treasure is really a place that makes one look forward to it. The castle and the Grim Reaper's sword smiled and returned to Qin Feiyang's body. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and raised his arm. A wisp of black and white force appeared in his palm. This was the fused force of life and death. From the aura, it was really much stronger than the strongest law. Qin Feiyang asked, after the fusion, can I still activate the law of death or the law of life alone? Of course. The castle replied. It can. Qin Feiyang was quite surprised and said, then now, doesn't that mean that I have mastered the law of death, the law of life, and the law of life and death at the same time? Yes. And the epitome of the law of life and death will also be helpful to your comprehension of the law of life and the law of death. In other words, now, not only have you comprehended these three laws, but you have also obtained the epitome of these three laws. It can be said that this is the greatest fortune you have received in your life. The castle said. As expected, fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. The power of life and death in his hand dissipated. He looked up at the dark sky above and muttered, why did you leave me this epitome of the law of life and death? The six-word divine formula and the pill scripture were both created by the God of creation. And the six-word divine formula had always been in the castle, accompanying him to this world. Therefore, this must be related to the God of creation. But, what was his relationship with the God of creation? Could it be, all along, he had been wrong in his judgment? Although the castle, the six-word divine formula, and Chang Shui were all created by the God of creation, they were not given to him by the God of creation. Just like the pill scripture. Although it was also created by the God of creation, it ended up wandering among the common people. In the end, he obtained it by chance. In other words, was it possible that the castle and Chang Shui were also wandering among the common people for some reason, and finally appeared in the great Qin with his birth due to some unknown factors? My head hurts. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and temporarily put down the doubts in his heart. The eye of life and death also disappeared, and his eyes returned to their original appearance. Then, he took a step forward and crossed the stone door, stepping into the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. Chapter 3676. The broken land, the desolate mountains and rivers were filled with a tragic aura. When Qin Feiyang stepped into the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, the stone door behind him immediately closed with a clang. Before he could observe his surroundings, a sense of crisis rose in his heart. This made him quite puzzled. He didn't see any living creatures at all before, so why would he feel a sense of crisis? Boom! The next moment, a terrifying murderous aura shrouded over. Qin Feiyang turned around to look behind, and a trace of bewilderment crept up in his eyes. Not far behind, there was a broken giant mountain, about thousands of feet high, and there was a huge skeleton at the peak of the mountain. That's right. It was a skeleton. And it was the skeleton of a fierce beast, with a body size of hundreds of feet. The white bones emitted a gloomy and cold aura. A skeleton actually contains such a terrifying murderous aura. Qin Feiyang was in disbelief. And the sense of crisis he felt also came from this skeleton. What's going on? With a trace of vigilance and curiosity, he was ready to fly towards the peak of the mountain. But at this moment, crack, crack. Accompanied by the sound of bones colliding, the skeleton on the peak of the mountain actually moved, slowly raising that huge head. What the hell? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Very soon, the skeleton's head was raised high. Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and there were actually 2 clusters of fire floating in the skeleton's eye sockets. The skeleton gave birth to spiritual wisdom. Human, suddenly. The skeleton actually let out intermittent hideous laughter, and its body also stood up mechanically. The 2 clusters of fire in its eye sockets were like ghost flames jumping, looking quite terrifying. Whether you are a human or a ghost, you better not provoke me. Qin Feiyang calmed down after being shocked. Although this skeleton gave him a very dangerous feeling, after all, his current strength was in front of him. He was at the peak sovereign realm and had mastered 3 great profound meanings. Why would he be afraid of a mere skeleton? Human, blood, the skeleton turned a deaf ear, and the fire in its eye sockets jumped even more fiercely, as if it had seen a delicacy. There was even a bloodthirsty aura on its body. Boom! The next moment, the skeleton stomped on the mountain peak, and the shattered giant peak under its feet shattered on the spot. Following closely, the skeleton soared into the sky, letting out a hideous laugh like a ghost, and pounced on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent. The power of laws surged. But suddenly, his brows furrowed as he shut down the power of law and attacked the skeleton with his bare hands. Since he had just arrived at this place, he naturally had to figure out the situation first. Since the skeleton was the first living being he encountered here, he might as well test its strength first. What was so special about it? Clang! When he punched, Qin Feiyang felt as if he had punched metal. The hardness of the skeleton was beyond his imagination. One had to know. His current physical body had already reached the level of a supreme being. Even if it was the 5th profundity of the law, even if it was a supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact, it would still be able to compete. However, in the face of such a powerful physical body and strength, the skeleton opposite him was only pushed back, and the bones did not crack at all. A mere skeleton could actually reach this level. Boom! A terrifying aura rushed out from his body. This was the aura of his physical body and strength. That's right. Previously, he did not use his full strength. But at this moment, he unleashed all the power of his physical body and punched out again. Human, blood, the skeleton laughed sinisterly. It raised its bone claws mechanically and slapped at Qin Feiyang. Compared to the size of the two, it was like an ant and an elephant. However, Qin Feiyang, who was at full strength, relied on the power of this punch and forcibly shattered the skeleton's bone claws. It hasn't reached the level of a supreme being. It's almost at the legendary level. Qin Feiyang murmured. But even so, it was amazing enough. After all, even in the sky cloud realm, there were not many who could break the limit of the physical body, let alone upgrade the physical body to the legendary level. Even a skeleton here was so terrifying. But, although the skeleton's bone claws were shattered, it did not retreat in the slightest and once again charged at Qin Feiyang. It was as if it couldn't feel pain, nor was it aware of the disparity in strength. It was completely acting on instinct. Qin Feiyang was not in the mood to play anymore. The terrifying power turned into an invisible torrent, roaring out from his fist and blasted at the skeleton's head. But at this moment, black energy surged out of the skeleton on the other side. The originally dim world immediately fell into darkness. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded, full of disbelief. It was actually the power of the law of darkness. A skeleton actually mastered the law of darkness. Skeletons were formed after the death of a living creature. A skeleton that had gained sentience was just a slightly stronger skeleton. There was a good saying. A person dying was like a lamp going out. Whether it was a human or a beast, as long as they died, all the means they mastered before their death would disappear. In other words, even if the skeleton gave birth to spiritual wisdom, it was impossible for it to comprehend the law. It was really too strange. Caught off guard, coupled with the distraction, the skeleton actually avoided the invisible force. Its mechanical movements gradually became smoother after 2 exchanges. It took a step out and landed behind Qin Feiyang. The other bone claw was raised, carrying the monstrous power of darkness, and charged at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang hurriedly raised his arm and blasted at the skeleton. Puff! Immediately, his body shook, and a mouthful of purple-gold dragon blood spurted out. He retreated dozens of miles before stabilizing his footsteps. When he looked up at the skeleton again, his face suddenly changed. The skeleton stretched out its bone claw and grabbed the purple-gold dragon blood. Then, under Qin Feiyang's gaze, the purple-gold dragon blood was absorbed by the skeleton without leaving a single drop. As the purple-gold dragon blood was absorbed, the bone that was shattered before was reconstructed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Moreover, Qin Feiyang also noticed that the fire in the skeleton's eye sockets was more vigorous. Fresh blood, what a huge energy! After tasting the purple-gold dragon blood, the skeleton seemed to be very excited. The law of darkness rolled out and pounced at Qin Feiyang crazily. Qin Feiyang could roughly understand. The skeleton was saying that his purple-gold dragon blood contained a huge amount of energy. However, this skeleton could actually absorb blood to repair its own injuries, and it seemed to be able to enhance its own strength by absorbing blood. This was really unexpected. Might as well. He cut his wrist and waved his hand. A large amount of purple-gold dragon blood rushed toward the skeleton. The skeleton was extremely excited and rushed forward. The purple-gold dragon blood sprinkled on its body, and then it was absorbed by the skeleton without leaving a single drop behind. Qin Feiyang immediately discovered. The more purple-gold dragon blood it absorbed, the more vigorous the fire in the skeleton's eye sockets. As the fire flourished, the aura became stronger. Sure enough, this skeleton could enhance its own strength by absorbing blood. Give it to me, all, give it to me, the skeleton let out an extremely eager roar. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted from his nose and activated the law of thunder. Waves of thunder power, carrying a destructive aura, rushed toward the skeleton. Generally speaking, thunder was the nemesis of evil. However, at this moment, the skeleton didn't even have the slightest fear. It directly activated the power of darkness and flooded the sky, colliding with the power of thunder. Dozens of breaths passed. After a battle, Qin Feiyang finally figured out the strength of this skeleton. Although the skeleton was very hard, and although it had mastered the law of darkness, it had not mastered the profound meaning of the law, nor did it have divine arts or divine artifacts. From the looks of it, it was just a relatively powerful skeleton. However, don't underestimate it because of this. After all, it was facing Qin Feiyang now. Qin Feiyang's strength and methods had now reached the peak. Except for the sovereign divine weapon and the ultimate profound meaning, no one was his opponent. So naturally, he was qualified to look down on this skeleton. But if it was in the human world, with the ability of this skeleton, it was enough to slaughter a party. Although there were also many supreme experts in the human world, but one had to know that the skeleton could grow by absorbing the blood of living creatures. If it kept slaughtering and absorbing, no one knew how strong it would become in the end. So, it was not impossible for it to slaughter a party in the end. After thoroughly understanding the strength of the skeleton, Qin Feiyang no longer held back. The law of thunder's supreme profound meaning was activated and instantly shattered the skeleton. The two clusters of fire wanted to escape. Qin Feiyang took a step forward, raised his big hand, and grabbed it in his palm. Just as he was about to crush it, his expression suddenly froze. Why could he feel the aura of the law from the fire? He waved his hand, and a thunder barrier appeared, trapping the two clusters of fire inside. "Don't kill me!" The two clusters of fire rampaged in the barrier, and there was a cry of fear. Qin Feiyang was surprised. It turned out that the consciousness of the skeleton was hidden in these two clusters of fire. And in the two clusters of fire, there was indeed the aura of the law, and it was the law of darkness that the skeleton had mastered. The law, the consciousness, were actually all in these two clusters of fire. Could it be that these flames were the divine soul of the skeleton? Qin Feiyang studied it for a while. It was indeed a bit like the divine soul, but it was different from ordinary divine souls because it also contained the aura of the undead. It was somewhat similar to the aura of the fire lotus when it was still an undead. Qin Dage. Suddenly, a voice sounded not far away. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Why was this voice so familiar? Turning his head, he saw a young man in red standing in the void not far behind him. Red clothes, red hair, red eyes. He was like a demon king with a murderous aura. Li Feng. Qin Feiyang frowned. "It's me." Li Feng nodded and looked at Qin Feiyang across the void. But if one observed carefully, one would find that from time to time, he would glance at the two clusters of fire trapped in the thunder barrier, with a trace of desire in his eyes. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Feng. Could it be another illusion? Once bitten, twice shy. In this place, one had to be careful. The life and death eye opened, and the black and white power of life and death filled the eye socket. This pair of eyes, when Li Feng saw the life and death eye, his face suddenly had a trace of surprise. Chapter 3677. Under this pair of eyes, he felt as if there were no secrets on his body. Qin Feiyang also had a trace of surprise in his eyes. At this moment, Li Feng was like a transparent person in front of him. The power of law, divine soul, and even the spatial divine item hidden in his body could be seen clearly. Li Feng had mastered a total of 6 laws. They were the slaughter law, darkness law, force law, devour law, death law, spacetime law. What? Qin Feiyang was shocked. This brat actually grasped 3 of the strongest laws. It was really far beyond his expectations. To be honest. Although he treated Li Feng as a younger brother, Li Feng's talent was really not that good. But now, he actually activated 3 supreme laws. Wasn't his luck too heaven-defying? Even he and Frenzy didn't have such good luck in the past. Wait a minute. Could it be related to the blood ancestor? Or, the 3 supreme laws weren't comprehended by Li Feng himself but were inherited? Qin Feiyang continued to observe. Very soon, he actually relied on the Eye of Life and Death to distinguish the strength of Li Feng's 6 supreme laws. Devour Law, Death Law, Space-Time Law, Force Law, these 4 supreme laws had already reached the 5th profound. The Law of Slaughter, on the other hand, had already reached the level of supreme profundity. As for the Darkness Law, it had only reached the 3rd profound. It was still a distance away from the 5th profound. In other words, the last time they met in the northern continent, Li Feng had broken through another small realm. Because at that time in the northern continent, Li Feng's cultivation was only at the Great Mastery Dominator realm, but now he was already at the Great Mastery Dominator realm. He was only 1 step away from the Great Mastery Dominator realm. When he comprehended the 5th profound of the Darkness Law, he would officially step into the peak of the Sky Cloud realm and be comparable to Wang Changyuan. Because he had already mastered a supreme profound. Not bad. Qin Feiyang secretly muttered and looked at the spatial divine item hidden between Li Feng's eyebrows. The spatial divine item that was originally like a speck of dust was now completely displayed in front of his Eye of Life and Death. He could even distinguish its grade. This was a spatial divine item shaped like a stone tower. Its grade wasn't high and was very ordinary. Can you see through the things inside the spatial divine object? Qin Feiyang suddenly had a thought. The black and white taiji patterns in his eyes gave off an intense light. Gradually, the spatial divine object also became transparent. Qin Feiyang could see the things inside the spatial divine item with a single glance. You can even do that? Qin Feiyang was shocked. The Eye of Life and Death that could see through the secrets of the heavens and see through illusions was too heaven-defying. At this moment, Li Feng felt it even more vividly. It was as if he had been stripped naked, and a feeling of terror involuntarily emerged in his heart. Qin Feiyang calmly looked at Li Feng's spatial divine item. Although it was a little inappropriate to pry into other people's privacy, he was truly curious about Li Feng. Li Feng's spatial divine item wasn't big. It was only about 300 meters in size. It was like a secret chamber. Inside, there were 2 futons. It was probably used by Li Feng and the blood ancestor for cultivation. Next to it, there was a tea table and 3 chairs. There were 6 wine jars on the table, all of which hadn't been opened yet. I didn't expect this kid to like drinking too. Qin Feiyang muttered. In addition to that, there was also a small cabinet placed in the corner. The cabinet wasn't covered, and there were items like interspatial rings and interspatial bags inside. It should be Li Feng's private treasure house. Then, there was nothing else. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Feng's Sea of Qi again. There were 2 divine artifacts in his Sea of Qi. One was an armor, and the other was a divine weapon. They were both supreme divine artifacts. This was all Li Feng had. Qin Dage. Li Feng couldn't bear the pressure brought by the Eye of Life and Death and shouted. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and closed the Eye of Life and Death. He was quite excited. He really didn't expect the Eye of Life and Death to be so powerful. In the future, what secrets would others have in front of him? It could be said that now, the Eye of Life and Death had become his biggest trump card. So, there was no place to hide. Looking at the silent Qin Feiyang, Li Feng's heart gradually began to panic. He suddenly turned around and left as if he was fleeing for his life. Come back! Qin Feiyang shouted. Li Feng's body stiffened, and he turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang in awe. What are you afraid of? Qin Feiyang frowned. Li Feng hesitated and mustered up his courage. your eyes made me a little scared. You also have times when you are scared. Qin Feiyang snorted and said angrily, didn't you hear me call you over? Li Feng lowered his head and walked in front of Qin Feiyang, like a child who had done something wrong. Why did you come to the Heaven Bell Divine Treasure? Where's the blood ancestor? Qin Feiyang asked. I came in after you entered the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. As for the blood ancestor, I don't know where he is. Because I was the only one left after entering the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. I heard the blood ancestor say that this place seems to be random. Li Feng said. Qin Feiyang asked, do Little Rabbit and Feather Emperor know that you came in? Li Feng thought for a moment and said, Dragon King, Feng Ho, Qilin Master, Little Rabbit, and Feather Emperor were all still there at that time. They should have seen it. They didn't stop you. Qin Feiyang frowned. We entered the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure as soon as we appeared. They couldn't stop us in time. There was a trace of pride in Li Feng's expression. Don't be proud. Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently, and his expression suddenly froze as he asked, you just said that the blood ancestor knows that this place is random? That's what he said. And he also told me to be careful. Before entering the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure, there will be a first test. Li Feng nodded. What? He even knows this? Qin Feiyang was surprised. One had to know. Even Little Rabbit and Feather Emperor didn't tell him in advance about the first test to enter the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. They probably wanted him to pass the test with his own ability. But how did the blood ancestor know? To be honest, although I have followed the blood ancestor for so long, I don't know anything about him. However, he seems to be very familiar with the Sky Cloud realm. Li Feng frowned. Familiar? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Yes. And he seems to know the existence of the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure from the beginning. Because at that time, when the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure appeared, he didn't go to Sky Cloud Island to see it with his own eyes. He directly told me that the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure had appeared. And he asked me to prepare to enter the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. He also told me a lot about the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. Li Feng said. He actually knows about the Heaven Burial Divine Treasure. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. It seemed that the blood ancestor was really related to the Sky Cloud realm. And his origin wasn't small. Qin Feiyang asked, then what did he do with you all these years? Besides cultivation, there was nothing else. Li Feng shook his head. Why did he ask you to cultivate? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. I don't know. But he told me that he would tell me the truth when I break through to the sovereign realm. Li Feng said. The truth, Qin Feiyang murmured, his eyes full of expectation. What was the truth? He looked up at Li Feng and said with a faint smile, the law of darkness has already reached the third profound, and the sovereign realm is not far away. How do you know? Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. The law of darkness, the law of force, the law of slaughter, the law of space-time, the law of devour, the law of death, these are your 6 great laws. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. And you know so much? Li Feng was very surprised. Could it be that Qin Dage had been secretly monitoring him? Don't think too much. I don't have the energy to monitor you. But I hope that no matter what happens in the end, you'd better stay away from the blood ancestor. Qin Feiyang said. When I step into the sovereign realm and know the truth, I will consider it. Li Feng nodded. He was very puzzled. How did Big Brother Qin know that he had grasped the power of laws? Because even when he faced the white-eyed wolf in the Death Glacier, he had only shown the law of space and the law of slaughter. Then what are you going to do next? Qin Feiyang asked. Li Feng hesitated. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, say what you want to say. Li Feng lowered his head and said, it's dangerous to be alone, so I want to go with Qin Dage. Go with me? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Li Feng nodded and looked nervously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang glared at him and said, based on my temper in the past, I would have killed you with one slap. Li Feng's neck shrank. Although he was not weak now, in front of Qin Feiyang, he was not enough. As for him, he was also aware of his own limitations. Looking at this submissive little guy in front of him, Qin Feiyang could not help but laugh in his heart. A demon who killed people like scything flax actually had such a side. You can go with me. But don't drag me down. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Li Feng was stunned for a moment and was immediately overjoyed. He nodded and said, I will definitely work hard. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He turned to look at the two clusters of fire trapped in the lightning barrier. Don't kill me, the fire was still wailing. Qin Feiyang raised his hand and was about to crush the fire. Li Feng hurriedly said, Qin Dage, give it to me. Give it to you? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Li Feng nodded. Qin Feiyang frowned. With a wave of his hand, the lightning barrier dissipated. The two clusters of fire immediately wanted to escape. Stay. Li Feng snorted coldly. A blood-red vortex appeared between his eyebrows, emitting a bloody aura. After the blood-red vortex appeared, a blood-red light gushed out from the vortex. It turned out to be a blood-red hand. It was like a ghostly hand from hell. It grabbed the escaping fire, and then the blood-red hand returned to the blood-red vortex with the fire. The vortex also disappeared. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Feng's eyebrows with a face full of surprise. He actually swallowed two clusters of fire. What did that mean? After swallowing the two clusters of fire, Li Feng closed his eyes. There seemed to be a trace of enjoyment and intoxication on his face. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang became more and more puzzled. The eye of life and death opened again. He immediately saw an extremely strange scene in Li Feng's body. This is also the reason why the Blood Ancestor asked me to come to the Sky Bell Divine Treasury. Here, I can quickly become stronger and master various profound meanings. According to him, when I reach a certain point, I can even master the ultimate profound meaning. Li Feng explained. In other words, you can only devour souls. And you can't devour laws alone? Qin Feiyang asked. No. To be exact, this supreme secret technique can only allow me to devour the souls of the undead. Li Feng said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, according to what you said, isn't this secret technique tailor-made for the Sky Bell Divine Treasury? Although this secret technique was very powerful, it was useless outside. It was only effective in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury. Because only the Sky Bell Divine Treasury had souls of the undead. This was taught to me by the Blood Ancestor. I don't know. Li Feng shook his head. Are there any sequelae? Qin Feiyang asked. Such a terrifying secret technique shouldn't be so simple. I don't know. Li Feng shook his head again. You don't know anything and you dare to cultivate it. If there are any fatal sequelae, who can you reason with? When Qin Feiyang heard this, he immediately flew into a rage. As long as I can become stronger and master the ultimate profound meaning, it doesn't matter if there are sequelae. Li Feng clenched his fists, his attitude quite resolute. Looking at Li Feng's current appearance, Qin Feiyang really didn't know what to say. In order to become stronger, in order to find the dragons and take revenge, he had completely gone mad. Qin Dage, I know you are worried about me, but I don't regret it. When the dragons are destroyed, as long as you say the word, I will immediately kill myself in front of you. Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Up to you. Qin Feiyang sighed. It was impossible to persuade the current Li Feng. He could only hope that the Blood Ancestor really didn't have any intention of harming others. Thank you, Qin Dage. Li Feng bowed. No matter when, he was grateful and in awe of Qin Feiyang. He could slaughter tens of millions of people and make a continent bleed, but he would never do anything to hurt Qin Feiyang. Since you want to devour the souls of the dead, I will fulfill your wish and let you step into the perfected sovereign realm quickly. Anyway, I also want to know what the blood ancestor is hiding. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze in all directions, looking for traces of skeletons. Li Feng was extremely touched. This big brother's concern for him had never changed. Very soon, he found more than a dozen skeletons in the surrounding mountains and rivers. These were the skeletons of fierce beasts, and each of them was as big as a mountain. Only the law of darkness. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and asked. Yes. Li Feng said. Yes. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Yes. After devouring the souls of the dead, no matter what kind of law the other party is, it will become pure law energy. The 6 laws that I have mastered can all absorb this energy. Li Feng explained. I see. It looks similar to the law of devour. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, that is to say, the 6 laws that you have mastered now are all comprehended by your own ability? The law of death and the law of spacetime are inherited. The others are all comprehended by me. The law of slaughter is also comprehended by me. Li Feng said. I see. But it is still very powerful. Qin Feiyang smiled. To be able to comprehend the law of spacetime and the law of slaughter before becoming a great sovereign, this was already far beyond the monstrous geniuses of the Sky Cloud realm. No. The dragons, the Feng people, and the Kirin clan's monstrous geniuses were all far inferior to this kid. Not to mention anything else, just this point alone didn't disappoint him. Then where did you get the inheritance? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. This, Li Feng hesitated. Forget it if you don't want to say. Qin Feiyang waved his hand lightly. In fact, it wasn't difficult to think. In the Sky Cloud realm, besides the 4 forbidden areas, where else could there be the inheritance of the strongest law? So, it must be a forbidden area. Let's go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and led Li Feng to start a hunt in this area. 2 days later, all the skeletons within 100 million miles were wiped out. There were a total of 500 to 600 skeletons. Li Feng swallowed the souls of these skeletons and really raised the strength of the law of darkness to the 4th profound. Furthermore, he had naturally grasped the profundities of the laws. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, Qin Feiyang wouldn't believe that there was such a ridiculous thing in the world. However, when he thought of the white-eyed wolf's innate ability, he was relieved. Because compared to the white-eyed wolf's heaven-defying ability, Li Feng's secret technique was still a long way off. At this time, the two stood in front of a city. The city covered an area of thousands of miles. It was dilapidated and there was no one to be found. It exuded a cold aura. However, in the city, both of them felt a lot of powerful auras. Qin Feiyang glanced at the ancient city and tried to contact the Black Tortoise realm, but he couldn't. It was as if there was an invisible force blocking the middle. Sure enough, the things in the illusion couldn't be taken seriously. Let's go. Qin Feiyang said without turning his head and stepped into the ancient city. Walking to the dilapidated streets, he looked at the devastated houses around him. Although this ancient city was broken out of shape, it wasn't difficult to see from the tall and majestic buildings that there was once an extremely prosperous civilization here. It was just that he didn't know what caused this civilization to disappear. Did a bloody battle happen here? Li Feng was suspicious. Where there are living creatures, there must be a battle. Perhaps many years later, the Sky Cloud realm will become like this and become a divine treasure in the eyes of future generations. Qin Feiyang sighed. This was the cruelty of war. War after war could gradually destroy a world. Suddenly, Li Feng pointed to a building on the left and said in surprise, "Qin Dage, look, there seems to be a sword there." Qin Feiyang looked up. The building on the left was a tall palace. It was also dilapidated. On one of the walls, there was a black long sword inserted. The two of them walked over and looked carefully. The black long sword was 3 feet long and 4 fingers wide. It was completely black and engraved with mysterious patterns. After confirming that there was no danger, Li Feng grabbed the sword and pulled it out. The body of the sword was full of cracks, and the blade was badly damaged. It was dim and dull. It's still a supreme-level divine weapon. Li Feng was shocked. Unfortunately, the weapon spirit has been annihilated. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The sword was indeed a supreme-level divine weapon, but the weapon spirit had already dissipated. A divine weapon without a weapon spirit had no value at all. Li Feng checked and found that there was indeed no weapon spirit, so he resentfully threw it away and looked around again. They had just entered the ancient city and already encountered a supreme-level divine weapon. Maybe they could find some treasures in this city. Sure enough. Li Feng saw a lot of divine weapons around again. But when he ran over to check them one by one, his face was full of disappointment. None of the divine weapons had a weapon spirit. There's no need to look specifically. A divine weapon with a weapon spirit will automatically repair the body. So, as long as it's a broken divine weapon, the weapon spirit must have been destroyed. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yes. Li Feng patted his head. So many divine weapons have fallen. It's really unbelievable. What kind of earth-shattering battle happened here? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. They had only walked one street, and they had already seen no less than 100 heaven-defying divine artifacts. Moreover, most of them were heaven-defying divine artifacts of the supreme level. Chapter 3679. The dilapidated ancient castle and the broken divine weapons seemed to be telling a sad story. War was the most ruthless. No one in this world would yearn for war. But sometimes, it was unavoidable. Unknowingly, Qin Feiyang led Li Feng to the center of the ancient city. This place was also riddled with holes. Countless divine weapons were scattered on the ground, but without exception, none of them had an artifact spirit. Many of them were even rusted. Qin Dage, there's a human skeleton here. Li Feng stood in a corner and shouted to Qin Feiyang, who was not far away. A human skeleton? Qin Feiyang was stunned and quickly walked over. He had been in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure for 2 days and had seen many ferocious beast skeletons, but he had never seen a human skeleton. Walking to Li Feng's side, Qin Feiyang looked at the corner. There was indeed a skeleton with its back against the wall and half lying on the ground. There was a sharp arrow in the forehead of the skull. This sharp arrow was also a supreme-level divine weapon. But under the erosion of time, it was already rusted. Obviously. This skeleton was pierced through the head by this sharp arrow when it was alive, and its divine soul was shattered. From the distribution of the bones, it's a woman. Li Feng squatted in front of the skeleton and carefully looked at it. Suddenly, he looked at the abdomen and pelvis of the skeleton and said in surprise, "And it's a pregnant woman." Qin Feiyang also looked at the abdomen of the skeleton. In the pelvis of the abdomen, there was indeed the skeleton of a baby. Although it was decayed, it was not difficult to distinguish. War is indeed ruthless. Li Feng sighed, grabbed the sharp arrow in the head, and gently pulled it out. But because the skeleton had long decayed, it turned into ashes with a slight movement. For us, this is a place full of opportunities and opportunities. But for the creatures who once lived here, this is undoubtedly a purgatory that they never want to remember. Why can't the people in the world put down their personal grudges and stop the war? The outbreak of war will not only hurt others, but also hurt themselves, and even make a prosperous civilization disappear. Is this price worth it? Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Looking at the scene before him, Qin Feiyang seemed to have comprehended something as images flashed through his mind. His body and mind also gradually entered a wonderful state. A will of war quietly spread out. Li Feng quickly noticed Qin Feiyang's abnormality and raised his head to size up Qin Feiyang. His eyes flickered with envy. Epiphany. As expected of Qin Dage, he had entered a state of epiphany. No one is allowed to disturb Qin Dage. Immediately, Li Feng scanned his surroundings vigilantly. When one was in a state of enlightenment, they were most afraid of being disturbed by others. If he were to awaken halfway through, no matter how much he comprehended, all his previous efforts would be wasted. He had thought that nothing unexpected would happen. After all, they had been in the ancient city for so long, but they had not seen a single skeleton. However, not long after, a terrifying aura suddenly surged from the eastern side of the ancient city. Li Feng was shocked and rose into the air like lightning. He raised his head to look at the eastern side of the city and his expression changed drastically. There was a large number of skeletons outside the city. It was white and eerie. They were all skeletons of ferocious beasts. Each of them was as huge as a mountain. There were a total of 500 to 600 of them, covering the sky and the earth. They had hunted many skeletons in the 2 days since they entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, but this was the first time they had seen so many skeletons in groups. Boom! Without waiting for Li Feng to come back to his senses, a terrifying aura also surged from the western side of the city. Li Feng turned his head to look and his face could not help but turn pale. A large number of skeletons also surged from the western side of the city. Whether it was the number or strength, they were not inferior to the skeletons surging from the east. What's going on? Li Feng looked back and forth at the skeletons on both sides. Why were there so many skeletons all of a sudden? Boom! At this time, a fierce aura also came from the southern and northern sides. What? Li Feng raised his head to look and found that a large group of skeletons also surged from the southern and northern sides of the city. Vast and mighty, their ferocious auras overflowed to the heavens. What the hell is going on? Li Feng frowned. There were so many skeletons surging from all 4 directions at the same time. In total, there were at least 3,000 skeletons. Could it be that they had encountered a skeleton tide? But that was not right. The Blood Ancestor did not say that there would be a skeleton tide in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. The so-called skeleton tide was more like a beast tide. Li Feng observed for a while and found that the skeletons in all directions seemed to have rushed out of the ancient city. He made a prompt decision to activate the law of force, slaughter, space-time, death, and devour. The power of the 5 great laws emerged and condensed into 5 enchantments. Layer after layer, they protected Qin Feiyang. 5 barriers, 5 layers of protection. Moreover, these 5 barriers had the effect of soundproofing. Human, fresh blood, thousands of skeletons surged into the ancient city and their eyes instantly locked onto Li Feng who was standing in the sky. The fire in their eyes emitted a strong desire. Boom! The next moment, all the skeletons were like a pack of hungry wolves, crazily pouncing on Li Feng. Courting death. Li Feng's eyes turned cold. The slaughter law was activated and turned into waves of blood, carrying a destructive aura, surging toward the skeletons in all directions. However, these thousands of skeletons did not stop at all, and their bodies also surged with the power of a law. Except for the strongest law, almost all the other laws were present. For example, the metal law, the sword law, the earth law, and so on. Coupled with their tough bodies, the waves of blood formed from Li Feng's laws of slaughter were unable to cause any actual harm to them at all. They continued to crush them unstoppably. So strong. Li Feng raised his eyebrows, and his blood-red eyes were filled with a monstrous murderous aura. Without hesitation, he activated the slaughter law's ultimate meaning. Slaughter hell. The sky instantly turned into a sea of blood, and a terrifying murderous aura shrouded the world. Crack. The next moment, countless blood-red lightning poured down from the sea of blood, and the world instantly turned into a purgatory. The skeletons were constantly shattered. After all, this was the ultimate meaning. Although his cultivation was weaker by a small realm, the power of the ultimate meaning could completely make up for the gap of a realm. At the same time, the blood-red vortex between Li Feng's eyebrows appeared again. A large blood-red hand stretched out from the vortex, grabbed the souls of the dead, and swallowed them all. These skeletons were a great tonic for him. Dozens of skeletons suddenly noticed Qin Feiyang below and immediately chose to pounce toward Qin Feiyang. "You're all courting death!" Li Feng roared. Endless blood-red lightning, carrying an aura that could destroy the world, blasted out. Dozens of skeletons were shattered on the spot, and the souls of the dead were all caught by the bloody hand. "Just nice, I'll use you guys to break through to the sovereign realm." Li Feng laughed maniacally as he killed madly. Qin Feiyang, who was inside the barrier, was completely unaware of the situation outside. With the protection of the 5 barriers, in addition to the soundproofing effect, it was as if he was in a sealed space, and the surroundings were incomparably quiet. Outside, the slaughter hell shrouded the world, and blood energy surged, and the murderous aura was astonishing. Apart from the place where Qin Feiyang was, the entire ancient city was almost destroyed. Li Feng was like a demon god, crazily slaughtering. But suddenly, the ground below surged with a terrifying aura. Following closely, a blood-red sword, tearing the ground apart, slashed toward Li Feng with the power to destroy the world. He was caught off guard. A wound immediately appeared on Li Feng's body, and blood flowed out. What? This sword awakened him from the slaughter, and he hurriedly retreated, looking at the blood-red sword. This sword, as if stained with blood, emitted a strong smell of blood. A trace of shock crawled up Li Feng's face. It was actually a supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact with an artifact spirit. Clang! The blood-red sword recovered, and slashed toward the barrier where Qin Feiyang was. "How dare you!" With a thought from Li Feng, the supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact that was hidden in his body immediately rushed out. This was also a sword, and similarly, the blood-red light was monstrous, as if it was a demonic weapon from hell. "Blood Drinker magic sword, quickly stop it!" Li Feng roared angrily. Accompanied by a loud clang, the Blood Drinker magic sword recovered, and its sharp edge tore the heavens and the earth. In an instant, it crossed the barrier above and attacked the blood-red sword. Clang! The 2 heaven-defying divine artifacts fought together. Li Feng also killed the surrounding skeletons again. After the previous massacre, only half of the skeletons were left. As he absorbed the souls of the undead of these skeletons, his law of darkness was also rapidly advancing toward the 5th profound. But at this moment, on the ground below, another powerful aura emerged. Li Feng was shocked at once. He looked down and saw a blood shadow, rushing out from the ground with a whoosh. Its speed was as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Li Feng. Following closely, a blood-red bone claw reached toward Li Feng's lower abdomen. Is this a coincidence? Li Feng's hair stood on end, and he retreated without hesitation. It actually attacked his lower abdomen directly. One must know. The Qi was in the lower abdomen. Usually, when fighting with an enemy, one would seize the opportunity to destroy the opponent's Qi. But now, the opponent he was facing was not a living person, but a dead skeleton. After death, skeletons were not fully conscious. For example, the surrounding skeletons of ferocious beasts, they were all fighting instinctively. Since they were fighting instinctively, how could they know to destroy the opponent's Qi? I didn't expect your reaction to be so fast. A sinister laugh sounded. Li Feng was shocked. This tone seemed to be no different from a living person. He hurriedly raised his head and looked at the blood shadow standing opposite him. He didn't know why, but he was shocked. The blood shadow standing opposite him was indeed a skeleton. But the difference was that this skeleton was blood-red all over, and the soul of the undead in its eye sockets was also like a blood-red flame, jumping crazily. The most important thing was, this skeleton was not a ferocious beast, but a human. There was actually a human-shaped skeleton. And it seemed to have given birth to a complete consciousness. Obediently hand over your body, as long as I absorb your blood, maybe I can condense flesh and blood. The human-shaped skeleton laughed, looked at the surrounding skeletons of ferocious beasts, and shouted, "Kill!" Boom! At that moment, the surrounding skeletons of ferocious beasts pounced on Li Feng crazily, completely disregarding their own lives. Chapter 3680. So you're the one behind this. Li Feng's eyes turned cold. He was wondering why there were so many skeletons. It turned out that someone was secretly controlling them. In other words, from the moment they entered the ancient city, they had already attracted the attention of this human-shaped skeleton. The human-shaped skeleton did this to kill them and absorb their flesh and blood. Because in these 2 days, the skeletons they encountered could absorb the flesh and blood of living creatures to strengthen themselves. However, this matter was very funny in Li Feng's eyes. Because it had always been him absorbing the flesh and blood of others. Thinking back, whether it was in the ancient world, Nether King's Hell, or later in the Sky Cloud realm, he didn't even know how many had died in his hands and had their flesh and blood sucked dry by him. But now, someone actually had ideas about him. And it was a skeleton. In this aspect, you still have to call me old ancestor. Boom! The massacre hell enveloped all directions. The remaining half of the skeletons were constantly shattered. The profound meaning is indeed powerful. The human-shaped skeleton stood at the side and nodded. There was no fear in it at all, as if it had something to rely on in its hands. Li Feng was very comfortable now. It wasn't the killing that made him comfortable. It was the souls of the dead that made his law of darkness stronger. He had a hunch. As long as he absorbed all the souls of the dead here, his law of darkness should be able to reach the fifth profound meaning. The human-shaped skeleton soon noticed this as well. What was going on? He was actually absorbing the souls of the dead. Seeing that Li Feng was getting braver as he fought, the human-shaped skeleton took a step forward, and a surge of law of slaughter rolled out. The sky was filled with blood-red lightning roaring and surging toward Li Feng. Massacre hell. Li Feng's face suddenly changed. A mere skeleton had actually grasped the ultimacy of the supreme realm. Boom! He quickly waved his hand, and the lightning around him turned into a torrent and rushed toward the skeleton's profound meaning. Accompanied by a heaven-shaking explosion, a terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions with this place as the center. Li Feng's body shook, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. After all, his cultivation was only at the perfect sovereign realm. And this human-shaped skeleton, judging from its aura, definitely had the strength of a perfect sovereign realm. This is purgatory. None of the living beings who come here can leave alive. The human-shaped skeleton snickered. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Li Feng. Li Feng immediately summoned his armor. Crack! The human-shaped skeleton's fist landed on the armor. A crack immediately appeared on the armor, and Li Feng was once again sent flying by the terrifying power. This made Li Feng extremely shocked. After all, he was wearing a supreme-level armor. The strength of a single punch was able to shatter the armor. Didn't that mean the strength of the human-shaped skeleton had already reached the 9 heavens supreme level? Don't resist anymore. Just obediently become my sacrifice. The human-shaped skeleton laughed sinisterly. Not only had he grasped the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter, but he also possessed the heaven-defying body and strength of an autarch. He was practically a human-shaped weapon. For a time, Li Feng was beaten back again and again. Although his strength was not bad, his cultivation was his fatal weakness. If he was a paragon sovereign, he definitely wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Breakthrough. Only by breaking through can I turn defeat into victory. Li Feng turned his head to look at the surrounding skeletons. Their blood-red eyes were filled with desire. Even though these skeletons were not fully conscious, they couldn't help but feel a sense of fear at this moment. Swish! In the next instant, Li Feng activated his supreme-level support divine technique. Like a grim reaper, he crazily slaughtered the skeletons around him. Behind him, the human-shaped skeletons' every move was fatal. About a dozen breaths later, the armor on Li Feng's body finally reached its limit and fell apart. Without the armor, Li Feng's situation was even worse. In just a dozen breaths, he had slaughtered more than half of the skeletons. The souls of the dead turned into pure law energy and continuously merged with the law of darkness. He felt that he was getting closer and closer to breaking through. You can actually absorb the souls of the dead. Looks like I can't keep you alive. The human-shaped skeleton roared. As the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter was activated, blood-red lightning fell from the sky like a huge blood-red python. It carried an aura of destruction as it charged towards Li Feng. Li Feng's eyes darkened, and his physical body expanded. In just a moment, his body was 100,000 feet long. This was the fifth profoundness of the law of force, 100,000 feet long divine body. Following closely, the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter, the fifth profoundness of the law of space, the law of devour, and the law of death were all activated. Now, Li Feng could be said to have no reservations as he roared, "Shatter all of you." As soon as he finished speaking, two gigantic hands that covered the sky and the earth slammed towards the surrounding skeletons. The ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter and the fifth profoundness of the three supreme laws all attacked the ultimate profoundness of the human-shaped skeleton. On one hand, it resisted the killing move of the human-shaped skeleton. On the other hand, it slaughtered the skeletons and absorbed the souls of the dead. Because of the shattering of his armor, he could not hold on for much longer. If he could not step into the sovereign realm, then he could only die. Boom! The surrounding skeletons were not in suspense. As the two giant hands fell, the remaining skeletons were all instantly smashed into pieces. The blood-red hand between his eyebrows also crazily expanded, grabbing all the souls of the dead and returning them to his body. At the same time, the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter and the fifth profoundness of the three supreme laws also fiercely collided with the ultimate profoundness of the human-shaped skeleton. Even with the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter and the fifth profoundness of the three supreme laws, it was still not a match for the human-shaped skeleton. It could not resist at all and was directly smashed into pieces. This was the gap between realms. As long as there was a gap between realms, it was useless no matter how many supreme laws one had mastered. Unless it was the ultimate profoundness of the supreme laws. For example, if Li Feng had mastered the ultimate profoundness of a supreme law, then even if there was a small barrier between their realms, he could still completely crush the human-shaped skeleton. Li Feng was heavily injured again, smashing into the ground below like a meteorite, blood gushing out of his body. However, just when he was full of expectations and thought that he could successfully step into the sovereign realm after devouring all the souls of the dead, he realized that it was still not enough. Just a little more. He consumed a divine life pill, endured the intense pain all over his body, and leaped up. Standing in the air, he scanned his surroundings, but there were no other skeletons in front of him. Die! It was also at this moment. The human-shaped skeleton rushed in front of Li Feng in one step, and its fist erupted with a force that could destroy heaven and earth. "Get lost!" Li Feng roared. It wasn't easy for him to comprehend the ultimate profoundness of the law of slaughter and master the three supreme laws. Before he could even start to shine, he was going to die here. No one would be willing to die like this. His whole body was like a raging beast as he threw a punch. Accompanied by a cracking sound, his arm was shattered on the spot under the terrifying power of the human-shaped skeleton. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Immediately, he also flew out horizontally, dripping with blood. What a waste, what a waste! Looking at the flesh and blood flying all over the sky, the human-shaped skeleton shook its head in annoyance and once again charged towards Li Feng. The Sky Bell Divine Treasure is indeed terrifying. Even a random skeleton has such powerful strength. No. It seems that from the beginning to the end, I didn't see him activate the divine art. In the nick of time, Li Feng grabbed a wisp of spiritual light and used the supreme-level support divine art to escape into the sky like lightning. The human-shaped skeleton's punch missed, and looking at Li Feng who escaped, it was extremely angry. Sure enough, Li Feng stopped in the void in the distance and looked at the human-shaped skeleton. His blood-stained face couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile. Although his strength wasn't as good as the other party, he had the supreme-level support divine art. As long as he continued to drag it out, when Qin Dage woke up, with Qin Dage's strength, it would be easy to deal with such a thing. At the same time, he could also find fierce beast skeletons and upgrade the law of darkness to the fifth profoundness. As long as he stepped into the sovereign realm, there was no need for Qin Dage to make a move. He had full confidence that he could kill this skeleton. With this thought, Li Feng looked at the human-shaped skeleton and provoked, "Come, come, come, let's continue." The bloody flames in the human-shaped skeleton's eyes continued to flicker. Suddenly, it turned around and activated the supreme profoundness of the law of slaughter, charging towards Qin Feiyang below. "How dare you!" Li Feng roared. He never thought that the human-shaped skeleton would be so smart to choose to attack Qin Feiyang. This was forcing him to fight head-on. Li Feng gritted his teeth. Li Feng decisively activated the supreme-level support divine art and flew above Qin Feiyang. Looking at the rolling blood-red lightning, his heart was shrouded in the aura of death. "Seems like I can only activate that move," Li Feng murmured, his eyes were a little hesitant. Looking down at Qin Feiyang, he finally made up his mind. No matter what, he had to protect this big brother of his. But at this moment, inside the enchantment, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted. Li Feng was shocked and hurriedly looked down. He saw the 5 barriers he had set up shattering one by one. They couldn't withstand that aura at all. This aura came from Qin Feiyang. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's body was surging with a shocking battle intent, as if an ancient god of war had returned. Clang! The next moment, with a loud bang, the precepts of war rolled out in all directions. Supreme profoundness, war domain. As Qin Feiyang spoke, it was as if a heavenly bell rang in the sky, deafening. Boom! The law of war domain. A huge domain appeared, enveloping the world. Supreme profoundness. Li Feng's eyes trembled. Was this Qin Dage's epiphany? He never thought that he would actually comprehend the supreme profoundness of the law of war. The law of destruction, the law of karma, the law of thunder, and the law of war. Now, Qin Dage had mastered 4 supreme profoundness, he was getting closer and closer to becoming a supreme expert. The so-called supreme experts referred to those supreme existences who had mastered the 6 supreme profounds. In the blink of an eye, with the appearance of the war domain, Qin Feiyang suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of divine light shot out from his eyes as he looked at the human-shaped skeleton. Chapter 3681. A human skeleton. This also surprised Qin Feiyang. He had just woken up and knew nothing about what had happened. Therefore, not only did he see the human-shaped skeleton, but he was also very surprised when he saw the supreme meaning of the law of slaughter. Qin Dage. Li Feng was pleasantly surprised. He rushed behind Qin Feiyang. However, the supreme meaning of the law of slaughter had already arrived. Streaks of blood-colored lightning emitted a destructive aura. There was no time to explain to Qin Feiyang. Li Feng only reminded him, "Be careful." Qin Feiyang did not reply, nor did he do anything. The power of law in the bloodshed domain gathered from all directions and finally condensed into a thick black shield wall in front of him. Boom! The blood-colored lightning struck. The black shield wall collapsed, and the blood-colored lightning also dissipated. This, Li Feng was dumbfounded. How did he do it? Seeing that the situation was not good, the human-shaped skeleton immediately turned and fled out of the domain. Clang! However, with a thought from Qin Feiyang, a terrifying divine might erupted from the war barrier. Then, a thick and heavy shield wall appeared all around the war barrier. Inside the barrier, it immediately became a space isolated from the outside world. Qin Feiyang sized up the human-shaped skeleton and asked, was he the one who activated the supreme meaning of the law of slaughter? Li Feng scanned the bloodshed domain and nodded. Yes, he activated it. His body and strength have both reached the supreme level. Is that so? Qin Feiyang stepped forward and punched the human-shaped skeleton. Humph! The human-shaped skeleton snorted coldly. The skeleton clenched its fist and punched out without dodging. Boom! The two fists collided, and both of them took a step back. It has indeed reached the supreme level. Qin Feiyang muttered. Moreover, compared to the skeletons he had encountered before, this human-shaped skeleton was more agile, and its mind was more active. It seemed to be no different from a living person. Qin Dage, help me. This skeleton is very powerful. The law energy of the soul of the undead must be even more powerful. If I can devour his law energy, I might be able to step into the sovereign realm. Li Feng stared at the human-shaped skeleton, his eyes full of desire. So fast. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Li Feng said, you don't know. When you were in enlightenment, he summoned thousands of skeletons, and their souls have already been devoured by me. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. With a wave, Li Feng immediately appeared outside the domain. He then looked at the human-shaped skeleton. Let me see how capable you are to dare to plot against us. The human-shaped skeleton snickered as it once again unleashed its ultimate profundity of the law of slaughter. The bloodshed domain immediately turned into a sea of blood. Bolts of blood-colored lightning roared like giant pythons. Qin Feiyang said. A storm appeared out of nowhere and swept out in all directions. This was formed by the law of war, and it contained unparalleled lethality. The blood-colored lightning and the storm constantly collided, and a destructive aura surged in the domain like angry waves. Looks like you're nothing much. The human-shaped skeleton grinned. Is that so? You probably haven't experienced the power of the bloodshed domain before. As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, a terrifying aura of war erupted in the domain like a volcano. The next moment, the human-shaped skeleton's law of slaughter seemed to be suppressed, and its power directly dropped by a level. What? The human-shaped skeleton was shocked. After the power of the massacre nomological laws was suppressed, the storm formed by the battle array nomological laws crushed the blood-colored lightning and engulfed the human-shaped skeleton in an instant. Every wind blade emitted a monstrous sharpness. Even though the human-shaped skeleton's bones had reached the supreme level, they were still rapidly cracking and shattering. No, the human-shaped skeleton roared in horror. It's too late. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and waved his hand, activating the highest level of the law of destruction. The statue of the god of destruction was like a god that had stepped into the world, and a palm fell. Ah! Accompanied by a shrill scream, the human-shaped skeleton shattered on the spot, and the soul of the dead in its eye sockets also disintegrated. Qin Feiyang stepped forward and grabbed the soul of the dead. He then scanned the bloodshed domain, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Just as he was about to leave the bloodshed domain, an even more terrifying battle intent erupted from his forehead. This battle intent far surpassed his own battle intent. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was shocked and touched his forehead. Boom! The terrifying battle intent actually blasted his hand away. The next moment, a divine light flashed past his forehead, and it was as if a peerless god of war had descended. Li Feng, who was outside, could not help but tremble. Qin Feiyang raised his head to take a look. To his surprise, he discovered that there was actually a large character floating in the sky, flickering with divine light. Battle. Looking at the word battle, Qin Feiyang's face was filled with astonishment. Because he was too familiar with this word. It was the word battle on the 6-word divine art. What the hell? When he comprehended the law of life and death in the illusion, the word life and death appeared. Now that he had comprehended the highest level of the law of war, the word battle also appeared. Could it be, the battle word actually contained the epitome of the law of war? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang became inexplicably excited. If that was the case, then wouldn't the return, advance, and kill be the same? Suddenly, the battle word floating in the sky suddenly collapsed, turning into a waterfall and merging into Qin Feiyang's body. Looking at Qin Feiyang's sea of consciousness. At this moment, there were already 2 epitomes in his sea of consciousness. One was the epitome of the law of thunder. The other was the epitome of the law of life and death. At this moment, next to these 2 epitomes, another epitome gradually condensed. A moment later, when the epitome was formed, Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. It was really the epitome of the law of war. With the appearance of this epitome, he seemed to have a new understanding of the law of war. After the excitement, Qin Feiyang went into deep thought again. Why did the epitome of the law of life and death immediately appear when he comprehended the law of life and death, but the epitome of the law of war would only appear after he comprehended the highest level of the law of war? If the kill word, advance word, and return word indeed contained the epitome of the law of war, then would they only appear after he comprehended the highest level of the law of war? After pondering for a moment, Qin Feiyang could only attribute it to the fact that the law of life and death was too difficult to comprehend, so the epitome appeared in advance. But no matter what, to him, this was a matter worth celebrating. Because in the future, he did not need to look for the epitome of the law of war, nor did he need to comprehend it himself. This inadvertently saved him a lot of time. Moreover, he might not be able to comprehend it himself. Looking at it now, it was indeed as the castle said. The 6-word divine art was his life's treasure. It was also at this moment that he finally realized the true power of the 6-word divine art. Whoosh! Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang suppressed the joy in his heart. With a thought, the bloodshed domain immediately collapsed. Qin Dage. Li Feng immediately ran to Qin Feiyang and asked in surprise, what was that battle intent just now? Because the bloodshed domain was sealed by the shield wall, he only sensed the battle intent and did not see the appearance of the battle word. Nothing. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and threw the undead soul to Li Feng. Thank you. Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and then smiled gratefully. He immediately opened the blood-colored vortex between his eyebrows and swallowed the undead soul. As expected. The law of war energy contained in the human-shaped skeleton's undead soul far surpassed that of the ferocious beast skeletons. After absorbing this energy, his law of darkness immediately charged to the 5th level of the law of war. Boom! At the same time, a powerful aura erupted uncontrollably. His cultivation directly stepped into the sovereign realm. So fast. Qin Feiyang muttered. It had only been 2 days since he entered the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasure, and this kid had already stepped into the 5th from the 3rd level of the Law of War. Apart from the white-eyed wolf's heaven-defying ability, he really couldn't think of anyone else who could match Li Feng's speed. I've finally stepped into this step. Li Feng was also very excited. The difference between the sovereign realm and the sovereign realm was like heaven and earth. Only by stepping into the sovereign realm would one have the capital to establish a foothold in the sky cloud realm. The most important thing was, after stepping into the sovereign realm, he was qualified to know the truth about the blood ancestor. The 5th level of the Law of War is just a new beginning. The next level of the Law of War is the true goal to pursue. So, you can't be complacent. Qin Feiyang warned. I know. Li Feng nodded, restrained his aura, and asked, Qin Dage, the Law of War seems to be very powerful. It's all right. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. All right? Li Feng was speechless and curiously asked, what abilities does the bloodshed domain have? There are quite a lot of abilities. First, the bloodshed domain can give us endless fighting spirit. Second, the bloodshed domain can suppress the power of the other party's law. Finally, the bloodshed domain can become a prison and can also evolve some offensive methods at will. For example, the storm from before was something I evolved at will. It can be considered as both offense and defense. Qin Feiyang said. Evolve at will? Li Feng was slightly stunned and said in surprise, isn't this the same as the Law of Space's Law of War's Law of War? It's not the same. The Law of Space's Law of War's Law of War can be evolved at will, but the Law of War can only be evolved in the bloodshed domain. There's a big difference. Qin Feiyang smiled. Li Feng nodded and asked, then, does the suppression of the other party's Law of War also require the other party to enter the bloodshed domain? That's right. Moreover, this ability to suppress the power of Law of War is only effective against ordinary laws. It's meaningless against an ultimate law. Actually, the biggest advantage of the bloodshed domain is that it allows one to have endless fighting spirit. Compared to the 5th level profound, it's countless times stronger. It's basically equivalent to having an immortal body. Qin Feiyang explained. Then, it seems that the ultimate law is still more powerful. Li Feng said in realization. That's of course. Otherwise, why would it be called an ultimate law? However, in my opinion, among all the laws, the Law of War is the most practical. Because in a battle, especially when facing an opponent of equal strength, the Law of War can make us invincible in a prolonged battle. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's true. If we were to break it down, the Law of War should be a kind of support-type law. Li Feng nodded. Support type, Qin Feiyang murmured and smiled disapprovingly. In the past, he also thought so. However, after fusing with the Law of War's miniature version, he faintly felt that the battle formula's ultimate law should also have unparalleled terrifying power. Of course. Regardless of whether it was an offensive or support-type law, an ultimate law or an ordinary law, as long as it was an ultimate law, it would definitely be heaven-defying. Chapter 3683. High up in the sky. The battle between the two supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifacts was not over yet. The blood sword had actually wanted to escape a long time ago. After all, even the human-shaped skeleton had been killed. Unfortunately, it was entangled by Li Feng's divine artifact and was unable to escape. A supreme-level heaven-defying divine artifact was still very valuable. Because there was a chance that it could evolve into a dominator divine weapon. Qin Feiyang made a move and suppressed the blood sword. At the same time, in the distance, two figures flew over. One of them looked at the place where Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were from afar, and frowned. the battle fluctuations have already disappeared, I wonder who is fighting? The other person sneered, who cares who he is, as long as he is of help to us. Finished. The two of them retracted their auras and quietly sneaked over. When the two of them arrived outside the ancient city, they looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng who were standing in the air and frowned. I didn't expect my luck to be so bad, to actually meet this little bastard. I'm sure I'm a little unlucky. From the conversation between the two of them, it was obvious that they were Qin Feiyang's opponents. Moreover, he hated Qin Feiyang quite a bit. What should we do? One of them asked. The other pondered for a moment, then said, although this little bastard is very annoying, it is undeniable that he is very strong. We might as well make use of him. Use him? I'm afraid that in the end, it will be us who will be used by him. In the end, who is using who, that will depend on whose methods are more powerful. The two of them discussed for a moment before taking action. Looking at Qin Feiyang again. After suppressing the blood-red sword and forcing it to swear a blood oath, Qin Feiyang prepared to leave with Li Feng. But at this moment, a beam of sword light appeared and smashed through the sky as if it was crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. It then charged towards Qin Feiyang and the other man. Qin Feiyang and Li Feng raised their heads to look, and their pupils immediately shrank. This was the sword light of a Dominator divine weapon. And the aura was quite familiar. White Dragon Sword. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with killing intent, he did not hesitate to take out the Death God's sword and slashed forward. That was right. This sword light came from the White Dragon clan's sovereign divine weapon, the White Dragon Sword. With a loud bang, the sword light shattered on the spot. Whoosh! Just as the sword light shattered, the two people hiding in the dark soared into the air and flew away without looking back. You came here to attack me, and now you want to leave just like that? Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. Holding the sword of the Grim Reaper, he used the space-time step and chased after him like a bolt of lightning. Who are they? The Black Dragon smiled coldly. So what if you remember? Do you still dare to touch me? Li Feng sneered. He had always hated the dragons. Although the dragons of the Sky Cloud Realm and the dragons of the Ancient Realm had nothing to do with each other, it still couldn't eliminate the hatred in his heart. Preposterous. This is really preposterous. Nowadays, anyone dares to ride on the head of our dragon clan and behave atrociously. The black dragons were furious. Don't worry. Let's talk about it after we get that thing. The white dragon's eyes flickered. Unknowingly, the four of them chased over a valley. When passing over the valley, a cold light flashed in the white dragon's eyes. With a wave of his hand, a divine power blasted into the valley below, and the valley was razed to the ground on the spot. Brother Qin, you guys help cover the rear. When we find reinforcements, we will come back to pick you up. Immediately after, the white dragons looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng and shouted. A wave of space-time law emerged, and the next moment, he activated momentary time and left with the black dragons like lightning. Cover the rear. Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were stunned. What did he mean? Moreover, the White Dragon clan leader had mastered the ultimate profundity of time arrays. Since he had such a method, why didn't he activate it before? Why wait until now? Boom! Just as Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were surprised, a terrifying aura suddenly emerged from the valley below. Immediately after, skeletons rushed out of the valley and stood in the void in front of Qin Feiyang and Li Feng. This, Qin Feiyang and Li Feng were stunned. There were a total of 10 skeletons, and all of them were human-shaped skeletons. Moreover, just like the human-shaped skeletons they encountered in the ancient city, their bones were blood-red. So many. At this moment, Qin Feiyang suddenly realized and frowned, they are using us. Use? Li Feng was surprised. That's right. They already knew that there were human-shaped skeletons here, so they deliberately lured us here. This is also the reason why they didn't activate momentary time before. Qin Feiyang nodded. The white dragons had momentary time. If they really wanted to escape, with his and Li Feng's speed, they wouldn't be able to catch up. Then why are they doing this? Li Feng was suspicious. I don't know. Maybe there are some treasures here. Qin Feiyang guessed. Treasures. Li Feng's spirit shook, but then he frowned, and said, that's not right, they all have Dominator divine weapons, if there really is any treasure, they can just snatch it away, why would they go through so much trouble to lure us here? Maybe, the real situation is not as simple as what we see now. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, he looked at the 10 human-shaped skeletons, and said, everyone, they are not on our side, don't be deceived by them. Do you think we are that easy to fool? I told you to cover the retreat, and you are not on the same side. The 10 human-shaped skeletons let out a shrill laugh and charged towards Qin Feiyang and Li Feng one after another. It seems that I am thinking too much. You guys don't have the ability to judge right from wrong. If that's the case, then destroy them all. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light, the death god's sword tore through the sky, and slashed out. Dominator divine weapon. The 10 human-shaped skeletons were shocked and decisively retreated. You want to escape in the face of a Dominator divine weapon? Li Feng's face was full of disdain. At the same time, his eyes were filled with desire. The power of law contained in the souls of the 10 human-shaped skeletons was definitely beyond imagination. However, Qin Feiyang did not chase after the 10 human-shaped skeletons. Seeing the 10 human-shaped skeletons retreat, he immediately swept up Li Feng and continued to chase in the direction of the white dragons. Why didn't you kill them? Li Feng was suspicious. I feel that this matter is not so simple. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The white and black dragons both had Dominator divine weapons, but they chose to use them to deal with the human-shaped skeletons. No matter how one looked at it, it did not seem normal. So it was best not to fight, the best plan was to retreat. Clang! But at the next moment, accompanied by 2 loud sounds, 2 sword rays shattered the ground and rushed out. What? Li Feng's expression changed. Qin Feiyang's expression also changed. Dominator divine weapons. And 2 Dominator divine weapons. There was indeed a problem. As soon as the 2 sword rays appeared, they went straight for Qin Feiyang and Li Feng. The surrounding void and earth began to collapse and sink. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. He grabbed the sword of Thanatos and slashed at the 2 sword rays. Boom! The 2 sword rays shattered. Not bad, not bad. Someone actually dares to come and offend this Lord's divine might. Accompanied by 2 cold laughter, 2 battle swords appeared one after another, carrying the power to destroy the world, in front and behind Qin Feiyang and Li Feng. One was golden, as if it was made of gold. The other was silver-white, as if it was cast with silver foil, dazzling divine light. It's really 2 Dominator divine weapons. Qin Feiyang and Li Feng looked at each other. But at the next moment, their eyes shone with green light. The Sky Bell divine treasure indeed had a Dominator divine weapon. Moreover, as the Sky Bell divine treasure's Dominator divine weapon, it must be an ownerless item. Since it was an ownerless item, didn't that mean there was a chance to subdue it? No. The white and black dragons already had Dominator divine weapons. If it was really possible to subdue it, why would the 2 dragons give such a good opportunity to them? Without a doubt, these 2 were definitely difficult to chew. Chapter 3684. The Golden Battle Sword sneered, last night, your 2 accomplices overestimated themselves and came over to subdue us, asking us to serve them. However, in the end, they were beaten away by us, but I didn't expect them to still not give up. A mere 2 humans and 2 divine dragons actually want our sovereign divine weapon to submit to them. They really overestimate themselves. The silver battle sword also laughed in disdain. Qin Feiyang and Li Feng looked at each other. It was indeed a trap. They looked in the direction where the black dragons and the white dragons had escaped. The 2 of them had long since disappeared. However, they dared to conclude. The 2 of them definitely did not leave. They must be hiding somewhere nearby, waiting for them to fight with the 2 sovereign divine weapons. In the end, both sides would be injured, and then they would come out and reap the benefits. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze, looked at the 2 sovereign divine weapons, and said, "You 2, please believe me, we are really not in cahoots with them." Boom! However, what responded to Qin Feiyang were 2 sharp sword lights. Qin Feiyang waved the death god's sword, shattering the 2 sword lights, and said angrily, "Don't be used by them." Use? Huh, do you really think this sovereign is stupid? We'll talk about it later. Even if you are not accomplices, as long as you are an outsider, you should be killed. The golden battle sword sneered, and immediately recovered, rushing towards Qin Feiyang. Retreat. Be careful of the sneak attacks of the black and white dragons. Qin Feiyang secretly warned Li Feng, and then resolutely rushed towards the golden battle sword. Because there was no way to avoid it. Moreover, if the sovereign divine weapon was determined to kill you, then it would really be difficult for you to escape. However, he didn't really care about the 2 sovereign divine weapons. He was most worried about the Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch. The 2 of them were lurking in the dark, like 2 ticking time bombs, making people unable to feel at ease. Li Feng retreated like lightning. At this moment. Of course, he couldn't stay. After all, this was a battle between dominator weapons. If he stayed, he would only become a burden to Qin Feiyang. However, at the same time, the 10 human-shaped skeletons laughed cruelly and charged towards Li Feng. Clang! The sword of the Grim Reaper and the golden battle sword collided, and a destructive aura swept out in all directions like a tide. The silver sword followed suit. Qin Feiyang and the Grim Reaper were both blasted away by the combined attacks of the 2 sovereign weapons. Huh, you have a dominator weapon at such a young age. I believe your status in the outside world must be extraordinary. However, this is the Heaven Bell Divine Treasure. Anyone who comes here will find it hard to escape death. The 2 sovereign divine weapons laughed sinisterly as their divine auras flooded the area. Really? If you guys are really that powerful, then why did so many people leave the Heaven Bell Divine Treasury alive the last time it opened? Qin Feiyang sneered. The Feather Emperor and the Little Rabbit were the ones who returned alive. With a loud clang, the ancient castle appeared and joined the Death God's sword in attacking the 2 sovereign weapons. What? There is actually another sovereign divine weapon? The 2 sovereign divine weapons were shocked. Qin Feiyang also decisively left the battle and rushed towards Li Feng. Because if the 10 human-shaped skeletons all mastered a supreme profound, then Li Feng would not be able to defeat them. In the distance, Li Feng and the 10 human-shaped skeletons had already started fighting. At first, the 10 human-shaped skeletons did not display any extraordinary strength, which made Li Feng think that their strength was very ordinary. However, when he thought that victory was in his hands, the 10 human-shaped skeletons all used a supreme profound. Although none of them were supreme profundities, the 10 ordinary supreme profundities were more than enough to crush him to pieces. After all, he had only grasped the supreme profundity of the law of slaughter. Seeing the 10 supreme profound coming at him and his life in danger, Qin Feiyang landed in front of Li Feng like a divine weapon descending from the heavens. He activated the supreme profound of the destruction law and crushed over. Boom! The 10 supreme profound disintegrated one after another. The supreme law is indeed different. Li Feng looked at this scene and couldn't help but be fascinated. The 10 human-shaped skeletons, on the other hand, showed signs of fear. Qin Feiyang was about to kill. But at the next moment, a fatal crisis appeared. He thought that it was the Black Dragon Clan leader and the White Dragon Clan leader who were secretly attacking, but when he turned around, he realized that it was another human-shaped skeleton. He saw a human-shaped skeleton coming from behind like a ghost. And the strange thing was, the bones of this human-shaped skeleton were actually golden, and the soul of the dead in its eye sockets was also like a golden flame. Qin Dage, be careful. Li Feng shouted. He was originally behind Qin Feiyang. When he saw the golden human-shaped skeleton coming, he turned around without hesitation and activated the slaughter law to attack the golden human-shaped skeleton. And the golden human-shaped skeleton sneered, and a wave of death aura rolled out. Following closely, a dark red waning moon rose and blasted toward the slaughter law. With a loud bang, Li Feng's supreme profound of the slaughter law was immediately shattered in the sky without any resistance. The supreme profound of the death law. Li Feng's eyes trembled. It actually grasped the supreme profound of the supreme law. Were these really just skeletons? The waning moon shattered the sky and charged toward Li Feng. Li Feng's heart immediately surged with a sense of impending death. Boom! But at this moment, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the destruction god in the sky slapped at the waning moon. Accompanied by an earth-shattering bang, the two supreme profound collapsed in the sky at the same time. Are you okay? Qin Feiyang landed beside Li Feng and asked. I'm fine. Li Feng shook his head. It was really fortunate that he met Qin Dage when he came here. Otherwise, with his strength, he would only be courting death in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. Originally, he thought that when he broke through to the Peak Sovereign Realm, he should have no problem protecting himself. But in fact, in order to protect himself in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, he had to grasp at least one supreme profound of the supreme law. A skeleton that grasped a supreme profound of the supreme profound. In just a few days, he encountered two sovereign divine weapons. This place was really beyond his imagination. The golden human-shaped skeleton looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng, then looked at the 10 blood-red human-shaped skeletons, and said with a sinister smile, absorb their blood, and one of you should be able to evolve. Kill them. Boom. Hearing this, the 10 blood-red skeletons seemed to have been injected with chicken blood as they activated their supreme profound of the supreme profound. The golden skeleton also activated the supreme profound of the death law once again. 11 supreme profound of the supreme profound charged toward Qin Feiyang and Li Feng from all directions. Killing me is no problem, but killing Qin Dage? What a fool's dream. Li Feng sneered. Even the supreme experts of the various forbidden zones could only flee in front of Qin Dage, let alone a few skeletons. Your courage is commendable. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The two supreme profound of the karma law and the destruction law appeared out of nowhere. The destruction law's supreme profound of the destruction law attacked the golden skeleton. The 10 golden lotuses formed by the karma law's supreme profound of the karma law attacked the 10 blood-red skeletons respectively. Boom! Accompanied by a series of loud sounds, the supreme profound of the supreme profound shattered in the sky, and the destructive aura swept in all directions. What? There's also the karma law's supreme profound of the karma law. The golden skeleton's expression changed, and it hurriedly abandoned the 10 blood-red skeletons and turned to flee. After witnessing Qin Feiyang's true strength, the 10 blood-red skeletons also wanted to flee, but their strength didn't allow it. The 10 golden lotuses shattered their supreme profound of the supreme profound and directly blasted toward their bodies. Following a series of miserable screams, the 10 blood-red skeletons were shattered on the spot. Seeing this, Li Feng immediately rushed up excitedly. The bloody hand between his eyebrows appeared and quickly swallowed their souls. Qin Feiyang ignored it. He used the space-time step and chased after the golden skeleton. Qin Dage, these skeletons don't seem to have a divine art. Li Feng reminded. Without a divine art, you still want to escape. Qin Feiyang stared at the golden skeleton, his eyes flashing with intense killing intent. If it had a supplementary divine art or supreme profound of the time law, it would be difficult for him to catch up to it even if he used all his strength. But without these methods, it was naturally nothing to worry about. The space-time step was a supreme-grade supplementary divine art, and after being improved by the little rabbit, it had already surpassed all supplementary divine arts. It could be said that, the space-time step was the most powerful supplementary divine art in the world now. In just a few blinks of an eye, Qin Feiyang caught up to the golden skeleton and stood in front of it. The golden skeleton's body was overflowing with hostility as it punched toward Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang didn't retreat and also punched out. Boom! The two fists collided with a loud bang. The strength of the two was completely on par. Strong indeed. Qin Feiyang muttered. The death law and destruction law were activated at the same time. Accompanied by an earth-shattering bang, the golden skeleton was shattered on the spot. Li Feng also ran over and swallowed the soul of the golden skeleton. Why aren't you attacking? What a good opportunity this is. Not far away. On a mountain top. The Black Dragon clan leader hid behind a huge rock and asked the White Dragon clan leader next to him through telepathy. The ancient castle and the sword of Thanatos were both entangled by the two sovereign divine weapons. Now was undoubtedly the best time to attack Qin Feiyang. Opportunity. The White Dragons were slightly stunned and mocked. I think the older you get, the more muddle-headed you become. What do you mean? The Black Dragon's eyes flashed coldly. See for yourself. The White Dragon snorted and looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng with flickering eyes. The Black Dragon Patriarch frowned and lowered his head in silence. You don't understand. Sigh. Think about it carefully. If we attack now, won't it be the same as admitting to the two sovereign divine weapons that were not with Qin Feiyang? Then, they might join forces to deal with us. Besides, don't forget that apart from the sword of Thanatos and the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang still has 4 sovereign divine weapons. The White Dragons heaved a sigh. Because the people from the Forbidden Lands had entered the Sky Bell divine treasure first, no one saw Qin Feiyang give the horsetail whisk, the blood dragon blade and the sovereign divine weapons of the Demon Palace and the Heavenly Palace to the mad scientist, the White-Eyed Wolf and Yun Xiang. They thought that Qin Feiyang still had them. Chapter 3685. The chief of the Black Dragons raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "So you're saying that we're helping them this time? That won't happen. 6 sovereign divine weapons. It won't be difficult to destroy these 2 swords, but it won't be that easy to subdue them. I believe that Qin Feiyang won't be willing to destroy these 2 sovereign divine weapons." The White Dragon clan leader transmitted his voice and acted as if everything was going according to his plan. That makes sense. The chief of the Black Dragons nodded. It would take a lot of effort to subdue a sovereign divine weapon. They couldn't fight it head-on, so they could only wait for an opportunity while Qin Feiyang was subduing the 2 sovereign divine weapons. Clang! Boom! The battle between the 4 sovereign divine weapons had reached its climax. The shockwaves from the battle were so terrifying that Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, and the chief of the Black and White Dragons retreated further and further away. Strange. Why haven't we seen him take out the other sovereign divine weapons? The chief of the White Dragons frowned. Could it be that these sovereign divine weapons weren't with Qin Feiyang at all? Thinking of this, the chief of the White Dragons raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have missed something important. The Feather Emperor and the Little Rabbit had entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure before, so they were very clear about the situation there. Perhaps. Before entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, the Feather Emperor and the Little Rabbit had already told Qin Feiyang that the Sky Bell Divine Treasure was randomly teleported. Out of concern for the golden-winged Wolf King and the mad scientist, the other 4 sovereign divine weapons were given to them. That's right. That must be it. Given Qin Feiyang's personality, even if he wanted to probe the 2 sovereign divine weapons first, it was impossible for him to probe for so long. The only explanation was that he only had 2 sovereign divine weapons on him now. Thinking of this, the chief of the White Dragon's eyes flashed with killing intent. Get ready to attack and kill them. Huh? The chief of the Black Dragons was shocked. It was my fault before. I neglected some important points. The other 4 Dominator weapons should be with the mad scientist and the golden-winged Wolf King. The White Dragons transmitted their voices. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and do it. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the Black Dragons. But the White Dragons blocked the Black Dragons. What? The Black Dragons looked at him with dissatisfaction. You're the one who said you were going to attack, and now you're the one who's going to stop me. What was he trying to do? I've thought about it. That's not the right thing to do. If we attack now, even if the 2 swords know that we are not on the same side, they will definitely be angry. After all, we are using Qin Feiyang to deal with them, and we are also using them to deal with Qin Feiyang. Taking a step back, even if they don't join forces with Qin Feiyang to deal with us, they will still be wary of us. No matter what, as long as we interfere, the situation will become even more complicated. The White Dragons shook his head. Then what are you trying to do? The Black Dragons raised his eyebrows. To be safe, let's stick to the original plan. Let them both be injured first, and then we'll go out and reap the benefits. The White Dragons' eyes flashed. Okay. The Black Dragons nodded. The battle continued. For existences at the level of sovereign divine weapons, if there was no absolute suppression in numbers, it would be very difficult to determine the victor. In other words, in a situation where the numbers were equal, this was a protracted battle. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, the battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, but the 4 sovereign divine weapons had yet to determine a victor. Not only Qin Feiyang and Li Feng, but the White and Black Dragons were also starting to feel anxious. This was because the fluctuations caused by the battle between the sovereign divine weapons were too great. If there were companions nearby and they were attracted by the battle, things would be very bad. No. We have to get the White and Black Dragons to participate as well. Li Feng transmitted his voice. What's the point of getting them involved? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Rather than letting them hide in the dark and reap the benefits, it's better to take the initiative to find them. Maybe at that time, we can temporarily form a cooperation and deal a heavy blow to those 2 swords. Li Feng secretly said. Rather than looking for them to cooperate, it's better to cooperate with those 2 swords. Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. Li Feng was surprised. Cooperating with the White and Black Dragons is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. We have to be wary of them scheming against us at all times. Moreover, even if we're stronger in the end, we'll only get those 2 swords. But if those 2 swords cooperate with us, not only will we have a chance to get rid of the White and Black Dragons, these 2 powerful enemies in the future, but we'll also have a chance to subdue the White and Black Dragons. So tell me, which one is more cost-effective? Qin Feiyang secretly said. Li Feng pondered for a while and frowned. Although what you said makes sense, those 2 swords don't trust us at all. I know. So I need to talk to them face to face. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and rushed toward the battlefield with Li Feng. What are they going to do? Seeing Qin Feiyang's actions, the Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch were bewildered. Without the protection of the sovereign divine weapons, they still dared to go to the battlefield. Wasn't this courting death? Could it be that their judgment was wrong? The other 4 sovereign divine weapons were actually with Qin Feiyang. But that couldn't be right. If the four sovereign divine weapons were really with Qin Feiyang, there was no need for him to go to the battlefield personally. He could just let the four sovereign divine weapons go to help him. "Castle, Sword of Thanatos, come and help me first," Qin Feiyang shouted. At the center of the battlefield. Hearing Qin Feiyang's shout, Castle of Thanatos and the Sword of Thanatos immediately shook off the two swords and rushed to the sky above Qin Feiyang and Li Feng. When the divine might descended, the fluctuations of the battle and the surroundings were immediately isolated. Seeing this, the White Dragon Clan leader and the Black Dragon Clan leader looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It was really a false alarm. Obviously. Just as they had guessed, the other four sovereign divine weapons were not with them. Because if the other four sovereign divine weapons were with them, Qin Feiyang wouldn't have sent Castle of Thanatos and the Sword of Thanatos to protect him. Clang! Two battle swords were coming at him aggressively. Castle of Thanatos and the Sword of Thanatos now had to fight against the two swords while protecting Qin Feiyang and Li Feng. It could be said that the pressure was doubled. "The two of you, listen to me. We are not with those two from before. We were careless and were used by them. And now you are being used by them." Qin Feiyang transmitted. Used? The two swords were doubtful. "That's right. They are dragons, and I am a human. How can I be in cahoots with them? I know that what I said now is not convincing to you at all. After all, you don't know the grudge between me and them. But I really didn't lie to you. Their conspiracy is actually very simple. While we are fighting, they will come out and reap the benefits. If you don't believe me and insist on fighting with us, it will be too late for regrets." Qin Feiyang secretly transmitted his voice. "Are you sure?" the Golden Sword asked. "I swear. If you really don't believe me, you might as well spend some time to put on a show with me. In the end, if what I said is true, you will cooperate with me and help me kill them." Qin Feiyang said. "After killing them, you will come and kill us? Kill us one by one. This way, you will be the biggest winner." Wishful thinking. The Silver Sword sneered. "If you cooperate with me and help me get rid of them, I promise to leave immediately. As for killing you, as a sovereign weapon, you shouldn't be so unconfident, right?" Qin Feiyang retorted. "Huh, what a good provocation. Congratulations to you for successfully provoking us. Fine, we will do as you wish and cooperate with you to finish this show. But this lord wants to tell you in advance. If in the end, the truth is not as you said, then don't blame us for being ruthless and joining hands with the dragons to get rid of you." The two swords said. "It's a deal." Qin Feiyang was secretly happy. Sure enough, as long as there is a chance to communicate, anything is possible. Chapter 3686. The White Dragons and Black Dragons were still thinking about their dreams coming true, but little did they know that a cooperation against them had already been achieved. After all, getting rid of Qin Feiyang would be a matter of fame and fortune for them. First of all, Qin Feiyang's luck was too good. Not only did he have a strong foundation, but he also had the Feather Emperor and the Little Rabbit as his backers. The threat to them was too great. Secondly, the Black Tortoise world that Qin Feiyang controlled was an independent world. Who didn't desire an independent world? Before entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, the Dragon King had repeatedly told them that if they had the chance to get rid of Qin Feiyang, they could give up the castle and the Black Tortoise world, but they had to get their hands on it. Because for any race, the Black Tortoise world was a fatal temptation, and it was a sanctuary bestowed by the heavens. As long as the Black Tortoise world existed, it would ensure that they would never decline for generations to come. Clang! Boom! The battle between the four sovereign divine weapons became more and more intense. The previous 3 days and 3 nights of protracted battle seemed to be just a warm-up before the battle. The terrifying divine power destroyed everything around them. Another half a day passed. The aura of the 4 sovereign divine weapons was slowly weakening. This was to create the illusion that both the White Dragon Clan leader and the Black Dragon Clan leader were severely injured and were gradually weakening. Because the range of the battle between the 4 sovereign divine weapons was too wide, they couldn't watch the battle from a close distance. From where they were now, they couldn't see the real situation of Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, and the 4 sovereign divine weapons. Of course. If they activated the White Dragon Sword and Black Dragon Mirror, it would naturally be a different story. With the protection of the White Dragon Sword and Black Dragon Mirror, not to mention watching the battle from a close distance, even if they were standing in the middle of the battlefield, it would be fine. However, they were worried that their whereabouts would be exposed, so they didn't dare to use the White Dragon Sword and Black Dragon Mirror. This caused them to be unable to see with their own eyes no matter how Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, and the 4 sovereign divine weapons acted. They could only judge based on the strength of the battle. However, they also didn't expect that this was a fake show against them. After all, the battle had been going on for several days. Moreover, judging from the intensity of the battle, they were all trying to kill each other. This is the last collision. Listen to my plan. Qin Feiyang glanced in the direction of the White Dragon Patriarch and the White Dragon Patriarch. His eyes flashed as he secretly warned everyone. Very soon, the 4 sovereigns' divine weapons unleashed a world-destroying aura. Looks like they're already preparing for the final battle. Just you wait. Our plan will definitely succeed. The White Dragons clenched their fists as they scanned the chaotic battlefield, their eyes filled with excitement and anticipation. It was the same for the Black Dragons. After waiting for so many days, this moment had finally arrived. Rumble. Not long after, 2 earth-shaking collisions rang out from the center of the battlefield. Following closely, whether it was Qin Feiyang, Li Feng, or the 4 sovereigns' divine weapons, all of their auras rapidly weakened. Did you see that? Both sides suffered. As the saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. We, the 2 orioles, are the biggest winners. The White Dragons laughed out loud. The White Dragon's sword no longer concealed itself as it flew out from his body. The Black Dragon Mirror also appeared from the Black Dragons. The 2 sovereigns' divine weapons released their divine might, protecting the 2 of them as they rushed to the center of the battlefield like lightning. When they entered the center of the battlefield, they saw Qin Feiyang and Li Feng lying on a piece of broken ground. They were covered in wounds, bleeding profusely, and their Qi was also destroyed. However, the castle, the Death God's sword, the golden battle sword, and the silver battle sword were nowhere to be seen. What's going on? The 2 frowned. But very quickly, they locked onto the aura of the 4 sovereigns' divine weapons. The aura of the castle and the Death God's sword came from the ground not far to the east. They were obviously submerged in the soil. The aura of the golden battle sword and the silver battle sword came from a broken mountain not far to the west. They were also buried in the soil and gravel. And the aura of the 4 sovereigns' divine weapons were already extremely weak. Without looking, they knew that they must have suffered fatal injuries. You didn't leave. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng again. Seeing the 2 of them appear, their expressions changed drastically. Don't you understand? This is a trap that we deliberately arranged for you. The White Dragons laughed. A trap? Qin Feiyang frowned. That's right. I have to admit that the 2 of us are really lucky. The Sky Bell Divine Treasure is obviously a random teleportation mechanism, but in the end, the 2 of us were teleported together. Don't you think this is a blessing from the heavens? And on the second day, we encountered 2 sovereigns' divine weapons here. The White Dragons became more and more proud. Although we are very lucky, we can't do anything in the face of 2 sovereigns' divine weapons. After all, we only have 2 sovereigns' divine weapons. I don't need to tell you the strength of the sovereigns' divine weapons. You should know very well that with the same number of sovereigns' divine weapons, there is no way to defeat them. So, after a short fight with them, we tactfully left and prepared to find other companions to subdue them. But we didn't expect to meet the 2 of you here. So, we came up with a plan. We lured you here and let you fight with them first. When both of you are injured, we will come out and reap the benefits. The Black Dragon Patriarch chuckled. The plan was perfect. It was successful. Now, it was time for them to reel in the net. Actually, your appearance is a huge accident. Of course, it is also a huge surprise. Our original goal was to subdue the 2 sovereigns' divine weapons here, but now, we can also get rid of you, this disaster. It can be said that we are killing 2 birds with 1 stone. No. It should be said that we are killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Because we can also obtain your Black Tortoise World and the first volume of the Alchemy Scripture. The white dragons laughed unscrupulously, becoming more and more arrogant. You know that the first volume of the Alchemy Scripture is in my hands. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Of course. Revered dragon, Long Chen, Long Shaoqing has been with us dragons for many years. It would be hard for us not to know. The black dragon sneered. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. Suddenly, a trace of a smile appeared on his face. He looked at the 2 of them and said, "So, what do you plan to do with us now? Do you still need to ask this question? Don't tell me you are so stupid to think that we will still give you a chance and let you live now." The 2 of them sneered. Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Who was the stupid one? They were already surrounded, but they were still so arrogant. Then, he said, "Both of you, have you heard it? It's time for you to perform." Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the white and black dragons were stunned. Perform? What did he mean? Clang! Clang! In the next moment, accompanied by 4 loud noises, 4 terrifying auras erupted. Then, the ancient castle. The sword of the Grim Reaper, the golden battle sword, and the silver battle sword rushed out from the ground like lightning and surrounded the white and black dragons. What? The 2 of them looked at the 4 sovereign divine weapons in disbelief. The reason for that was because although the 4 great dominator divine armaments had many wounds on their bodies, they were not affected in any way. That weakened state from before had also completely disappeared. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Li Feng got up and laughed. What's going on? The 2 of them glared at Qin Feiyang. Actually, I have already seen through your plan. I also know that you must be hiding in the dark and waiting for both of us to be injured before coming out to reel in the net. So, I beat them at their own game and secretly persuaded them to cooperate with us to put on this show. However, to make it more realistic, except for the shattered sea of qi, Li Feng's and my injuries are real. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and took out 2 divine life pills. He and Li Feng consumed them separately. In other words, their sea of qi was not shattered, but the injuries on their bodies were real. The white dragon's eyes darkened when they heard this. Do you know what your biggest mistake is? It's not because of your stupidity. It's because you were too proud and confident. You were so confident that you didn't find them and check on their injuries. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He didn't expect that the 2 of them would be so gullible. They casually covered them with soil and stones and changed their aura. They really thought that the 4 sovereign divine weapons were seriously injured. Bastard! The 2 of them roared. They were ashamed and angry. They thought that everything was under control. Little did they know that they had fallen into the other party's trap. How dare you use us? You really don't know what's good for you. With a furious roar, the golden battle sword charged toward the White Dragon clan leader and the White Dragon clan leader with an earth-shattering sharpness. Go! Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror saw that the situation was not good. They worked together to blast the golden battle sword away and sent the two of them out of the encirclement. Go! Humph! It's our turn to reel in the net. Castle, help them stall Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror. Sword of the Grim Reaper, follow me to kill them. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Castle immediately joined the battlefield and charged toward Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror. The silver battle sword and the golden battle sword that had been blasted away also charged toward the two sovereign divine weapons. In fact, there was no need for the sword of the Grim Reaper to help the white and black dragons. But the white dragons had mastered the supreme profound of the time laws. With his and Li Feng's speed, they couldn't catch up, so they needed the sword of the Grim Reaper to help intercept them. Sure enough. After being sent out of the encirclement by Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror, the white dragons immediately activated momentary time and fled crazily with the black dragons. If they stayed now, they would drag Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror down. On the contrary, as long as they could escape first, Bai Longjian and Black Dragon Mirror would have no worries. At that time, they might be able to find an opportunity to escape. Clang! However, momentary time was not invincible in front of the sovereign divine weapon. The sovereign divine weapon was not only strong, but also faster than all living creatures. Unless you mastered the ultimate profound, you were not qualified to fight against them. Chapter 3687. Clang! After leaving the ancient castle and the battlefield of the five sovereign weapons, the sword of the Grim Reaper decisively took action, bringing Qin Feiyang and Li Feng to block in front of the two. The terrifying sword Qi was like a tide, covering the sky and covering the earth as it rushed towards the two people. Divine Dragon Domain. The two of them were scared out of their wits as they activated their super forbidden technique. The power of the divine dragon emerged and condensed into a barrier that was dozens of feet wide. It flickered with sacred light, and there were dragon shadows roaring on it. This is the super forbidden technique of the dragons. Qin Feiyang sized up the barrier. From the aura, it was indeed stronger than the golden dragon domain and the fire dragon domain that he had seen before. However, even he had the ability to break a super forbidden technique, let alone a sovereign weapon. Everything was just a futile struggle. Boom! The sword Qi enveloped. The so-called super forbidden technique was like a withered tree that couldn't withstand a single blow and was directly shattered. Hum! At the critical moment of life and death, the two of them returned to their original form. A white dragon and a black dragon appeared out of nowhere. Their bodies were covered with millstone-sized scales that were as hard as steel. But under the sword Qi of the sword of the Grim Reaper, they still couldn't resist. Dragon scales continued to shatter, and dragon blood dyed the sky red. Clang! Two supreme-level heaven-defying armors appeared on their bodies, but they still couldn't resist and were instantly shattered. This was the strength of a sovereign weapon. Crushing everything. In the end. Accompanied by a scream, the two of them were cut down by the sword Qi, breaking into dozens of pieces. Blood stained the surroundings, and their Qi sea was also shattered. They lay in a pool of blood on the verge of death, their eyes filled with despair. Powerful. Li Feng's heart trembled. Even a super-strong warrior didn't have the slightest strength to resist. A sovereign weapon was indeed an invincible existence. I'll leave the rest to you. After the sword of the Grim Reaper heavily injured the two dragons, it left behind a sentence and prepared to go support the ancient castle. But at this moment, a golden figure came from afar like lightning. Big brother, save us. The Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch looked up and were overjoyed. Golden dragons. In the meantime, Qin Feiyang raised an eyebrow as he turned toward the sword of the Grim Reaper. He has the golden dragon spear, so it looks like you won't be able to reinforce the castle. Who would have thought that the golden dragons would appear out of nowhere? Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. He bumped into the 3 clan leaders of the dragons. That's not a big deal. Leave the golden dragon spear to me, and I'll leave the golden dragons to you. Are you confident? The Grim Reaper's sword said. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right. Let's end this quickly. After saying that, the sword of the Thanatos immediately charged towards the golden dragons. At the same time, hearing the Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch's cries for help, the Golden Dragon Patriarch was slightly stunned. Previously, he had sensed the battle aura of the White Dragon Sword and the Black Dragon Mirror, which was why he had come here to investigate. However, he did not expect that. To think that he would see such a scene. As the 2 clan leaders of the dragons, they had actually fallen to such a state. When he looked at Qin Feiyang and the sword of the Thanatos, his face immediately darkened. So it was this little bastard. Golden Dragon Spear. With a loud roar from the gold dragons, the golden dragon spear appeared with a loud clanging sound. It carried a dazzling divine light as it charged towards the sword of the Thanatos. You probably don't want our battle to affect them, right? The sword of the Thanatos sneered and immediately rushed into the distance. The golden dragon spear hesitated for a moment before chasing after the sword of the Thanatos. Indeed. If they were to fight here, not only Qin Feiyang and Li Feng, but even the gold dragons would be affected by the battle. At that time, before they could determine the winner, their masters had already lost their lives. Qin Feiyang, you're really like a ghost that won't go away. The Golden Dragon Patriarch arrived above the Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch at lightning speed and glared at Qin Feiyang. I should be the one saying that. Qin Feiyang said. The Black Dragons shouted, Big brother, don't worry about me, quickly save us. The Gold Dragons were the eldest. Therefore, the other 9 clan leaders all called him Big Brother. Of course. This was also because they had to ask the gold dragons for help. Otherwise, with the selfishness of the dragons, who would care about each other? Save. Li Feng looked at the 2 of them with disdain and said, how do you want him to save you? Even if he gives you 10 pills with dragon-shaped core energy, it will take time to recover. By the time you've recovered your energy C and injuries, the battle will have already ended. A brat still wet behind the ears dares to openly mock us. The 2 of them laughed. The gold dragons also pursed their lips with a hint of mockery. Boom! The next moment, a majestic life force emerged, drowning the black and white dragons like a tide. This is the law of life. Li Feng was dumbfounded. He didn't expect this gold dragons to have mastered the law of life. Moreover, with his status and strength among the dragons, he didn't need to judge to know that the law of life had definitely reached the level of the supreme profound meaning. He had personally experienced the healing ability of the law of life. Compared to pills, who knew how many times stronger? It could be said that in this world, no pill could compare to the law of life. We can't let the white dragons recover from their injuries. Otherwise, if we activate the momentary time, none of us will be able to hold them back. Activate your supreme profound meaning of the law of slaughter. Qin Feiyang's gaze also darkened slightly. Without holding back, the 3,000 incarnations were activated. The most important thing was, previously, without the golden dragon spear, the battle between the ancient castle and the dominator divine weapons was a 2 versus 4 situation. In such a situation, as long as the golden and silver battle swords fought with their lives on the line, coupled with the ancient castle and the death god's sword, there was a high chance that they could keep the white dragon sword and the black dragon mirror. But now, with the golden dragon spear attacking, it was a 3 versus 4 situation. With just a difference of one dominator divine weapon, there was no way to achieve absolute suppression. Naturally, it was difficult to keep the white dragon sword and the black dragon mirror. So, no matter what, they had to keep these three people. As long as they kept these three people, it was equivalent to keeping the three dominator divine weapons, the black dragon mirror. As long as they kept these three dominator divine weapons, in a 4 versus 3 situation, they would win sooner or later. Needless to say, the ancient castle and the death god's sword would definitely go all out. So now, it was up to the golden and silver battle swords to see if they were willing to go all out. If at this time, the golden and silver battle swords suddenly withdrew from the battlefield, then the situation would be reversed, and they would be in a passive position. And at the moment, there were also many uncertain factors. For example, were there other dragons nearby? Or the Foam people? Or the Kirin clan? No matter which race they were from, as long as they appeared here, it was very bad news for him. Of course. It could also be his people. For example, the white-eyed wolf, the madman, or the various beast emperors of the heavenly cloud sea, and the black-clothed middle-aged man in the land of the buried gods. Once these people appeared, it would naturally be a good thing for him. But now, these were all uncertain factors, so he still had to rely on himself. Boom! In the blink of an eye, 3,000 incarnations appeared, and they immediately activated the karma law and the destruction law. 3,000 incarnations were equivalent to 6,000 profound meanings. How vast and shocking was the momentum! Even though the golden dragons had grasped the life law, he couldn't help but feel guilty. Because this was no longer a one-on-one battle, but a battle of 1 against 3,000. 3,000 incarnations, that was equivalent to 3,000 Qin Fiangs. As for him, although he had grasped 6 profound meanings, he was just one person. It was a completely one-sided situation. Kill! The 3,000 incarnations' battle cries shook the sky. 6,000 ultimate profound meanings, carrying a world-destroying divine might, shattered the sky for hundreds of millions of miles and charged toward the Golden Dragon clan leader. Damn it! The Golden Dragons cursed and activated the super forbidden technique, Divine Dragon's Domain, without hesitation. Boom! 6,000 profound meanings attacked, and the Divine Dragon's Domain didn't even last half a breath before shattering on the spot. Super forbidden techniques weren't invincible, and there was a limit. Others might be helpless against the super forbidden techniques of the 3 races, but in front of Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. After all, Qin Feiyang had already stepped into the sovereign realm. The difference in cultivation no longer existed. If it were in the past when he was a sovereign, even with 3,000 incarnations, he wouldn't be able to break through the super forbidden technique. As the Divine Dragon's Domain shattered, not only the Golden Dragons, but even the White and Black Dragons, whose sea of Qi had almost recovered, were instantly drowned by the 6,000 profound meanings. Roar! Miserable cries rang out. Qin Feiyang once again witnessed the strength of the life law. Even with 6,000 profound meanings, he couldn't immediately kill the 3 of them. Li Feng was even more dumbfounded. Although he already had a good understanding of the various laws, this was his first time seeing the life law with his own eyes. This healing ability was definitely the strongest in the world, and there was no other. Hold on. There are 2 patriarchs nearby. They will rush over in a while. The Golden Dragon Patriarch's eyes flashed. He suddenly looked at the White Dragon Patriarch and Black Dragon Patriarch and shouted. What? Ancestors? When Qin Feiyang heard this, his gaze trembled slightly, and the 10 unfamiliar faces of the dragons involuntarily appeared in his mind. At that time, the Fire Qilin Tanwu had said that the unfamiliar faces of the 3 forbidden areas were all old antiques who had been in seclusion. It was possible that each of them had grasped an ultimate profound meaning. Although it wouldn't be the ultimate profound meaning of an ultimate law. This was very easy to determine. Because the little rabbit had long said that supreme existences who had grasped the ultimate profound meaning of an ultimate law were restricted from entering the sky bell divine treasure. Therefore, among the people who entered this time, no matter which side they were from, there wouldn't be anyone who had grasped the ultimate profound meaning of an ultimate law. However, even if it was an ordinary ultimate law, it would be easy to instantly kill him and Li Feng. Moreover, they were two ancestors. If they really grasped the ultimate profound meaning, wouldn't they be doomed? Really? At the same time, the Black Dragon Patriarch and White Dragon Patriarch were also shocked. As early as yesterday, I already met them. The Golden Dragons nodded. This was great news for the Black Dragon Patriarch and the White Dragon Patriarch. Li Feng asked through voice transmission, Qin Dage, could he be scaring us? Scaring? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, and his eyes flashed. He looked at the golden dragons and sneered, since you already met yesterday, why didn't they come together? That's right. Why didn't they come together? The black and white dragons also looked at the golden dragon suspiciously. You think I'm scaring you? Huh, what a joke. The golden dragon patriarch looked at Qin Feiyang and Li Feng and sneered. He said, they didn't come together because we also sensed the ripples of battle outside, so we split up to check it out. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.